Welcome back, everybody. The LA Valiant just pulled off the 4-0 victory over the Seoul Dynasty. That boy Space is looking quite strong. Everybody give it up for them. They're looking awesome. All right, now next, we have the San Francisco Shock going up against the LA Gladiators. This is another interesting match. Both teams have new acquisitions that will be at play today. Silk Thread will probably be making his debut on the LA Gladiators, so give it up for him. And then for the San Francisco Shock, my boy Super is going to be making his debut tonight. I'm super pumped about that. Any guys who watch Watchpoint, you probably checked that out already. It's going to be a crazy match. But before we get into our last match of the night, I got a bone to pick with you guys here at this arena today. You guys have been doing the whole thunderstick thing wrong, okay? So I got two people up here to demonstrate to you guys how it's done. They got the Sour Patch Kid thundersticks here, and they're going to show you how it's done. Could you give them a demonstration? We need to get this place loud. So if you're for the Gladiators, please make some noise. Anybody? Yeah. It's like this, not this. All right, what about San Francisco Shock? Where you at? Where you at? There we go. All right, so you guys, I don't know how to properly do that. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Paid actor who doesn't get any money from us. Anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and send it over to the desk to get this match started. Puckett, take it away, man.
I swear to God, we don't pay Daniel a dime. He comes in for free food. Guys, it's time for the last match of the night, and we're so pumped up. Battle between two Californian squads, and this one is gonna be the new look of these two squads. It's Puckett here at the desk. We got Bren, we've got Crumbs, and let's talk about these teams, starting with, of course, the San Francisco Shock. The squad, if you look at their record overall, 6-14. But this is the day they've been waiting for. When they first entered the Overwatch League, they signed some young players. They knew they wouldn't be ready until their 18th birthday. Now everybody that you could ask for is eligible to play today.
Right, the ice has melted, the roster is finally out, and the initial two stages were seen before as the stages that were how much can they afford to lose, really? Like, how many losses can they really just save away? And now the lineup is here. Sinatra and Super, those are the two big guys coming into them. Super now the main tank, one of the former issues for the team, and this should just revitalize the roster all over.
Yeah, and I mean, I really want to home in on this guy right there. This is old gameplay back when Super was playing for LG Evil, right? And this is a guy, he's got a lot of talent, a lot of history in the Overwatch League. I am very excited to see what he's going to be doing for San Francisco Shock now, because this is the complete roster. Like you mentioned, Crumbs, they got the whole squad in the whole gang. They got Moth, Sinatra. They're going to be looking hot today, I think, in this match. Gladiators, you know, they can't be sleeping on them.
It was kind of nice watching that old B-roll. You saw names like Note in there. Baby Bay was a victim of Super's. Super now playing alongside Baby Bay on this Shock squad. And we know this guy has a lot of talent on the tank side, but for those who don't know him, Bren, what's his greatest asset that you're looking for from an analyst perspective?
So honestly, just his ability to engage and disengage and still remain quite safe, as well as his shot calling capabilities as well across the board, because you want your main tank player to be able to have the information at the back of his mind all the time as to when to go in, when to, you know, use that bubble if you're playing Winston, because it's very important. Managing those cooldowns, that's what I'm looking for today. Very in-depth stuff.
And I want to see him synergistically with Sinatra, because they're actually sitting together as well. So it's very important. You see a lot of these teams make the conscious choices of seeding specific players next to another so that they work a little bit better when it comes to the game. The Tracer and the Winston, you have to know how to play together. And the two guys that are supposed to be the ones that we're waiting for are those two roles, which should make this team very explosive.
I like it. Normally you have an angel and a demon on your shoulders. Well, you have a bunch of supers over your left shoulder. Don't worry, we'll get back to that in a minute. We talked a lot about the Shock, right? This is the underdog. If you look at the rankings, they're going up against a Gladiators team that was in the playoff run. They're coming into this match at 10-10, and they're bringing in some new faces of their own. Talk to me about the Gladiators. What are we expecting to see from this squad?
Yeah, I mean, they've got Void coming in. They've already been signed. I don't know if we're going to be seeing him today, but we are going to be seeing Silkfred in the starting lineup, and he is a recent addition as well, recently moved from Valiant, and he's going to be adding a bit of that extra oomph, a bit of that extra firepower, and a much necessary fire play.
Yeah, and that's the firepower that you see right here, taking down Fleta, but I'm very curious to see what they do with Silkthread, because to me, hydration typically fills those shoes that Silkthread is filling, right? He has the fire, he has the Genji as well, so it's surprising to me why Silk Thread was picked up, but hey, he could just be one more bullet in the chamber for this team.
I saw it kind of as Hydration version 2, that these were kind of exact replicas of each other. Hydration, he's effective as far to Lucio in the past for the Gladiators team. Would you ever see a lineup where we could see both of these names side by side?
Possibly. I mean, again, Overwatch is a fickle beast. You know, it changes on a regular basis. The meta is constantly evolving, so we could potentially see it. I think it's more likely that we see the reasoning why Silk Thread was picked up, because they can start to run these double hit scan compositions, right? Which Hydration, not really too comfortable on the hit scan roles, like the Soldier 76, like, you know, the McCree, the Tracer and whatnot. He's more of a projectile specialist. So I feel like I can potentially see those sort of compositions coming in. You're raising your eyebrows. You're raising your eyebrows.
I'm very curious as to why you would want to run the double hit scan right about now, because you've got Sombra being so important, then you've got the Tracer as well, Widowmaker. You typically, when do you really see double hit scan come into fruition?
We'll get more on the exact comps and theoretical comps during halftime. I'm told the players are about ready, which means it's time to get this party started. Before we do that, official predictions. Bren, you've been terrible today. Continue.
I have been terrible. I'm going to be going with the shock. I think I'm
San
feeling the
Francisco
shock.
Shock?
I'm feeling the shock today. You know?
That was mine.
I know it's fine. I have confidence in my picks. Don't worry about me. You worry about yourself.
Where are you going, Crumbs?
That's my pick. I'm going with the San Francisco Shock. Even though the Gladiators have been very strong, teams have really zoned in on just killing Fissure a lot. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But I think that the San Francisco Shock, stage 3, breakout stage for them. Teams have been thinking that this is a top 5 team already. They've been scrimming quite a bit, so I think this team's got it.
Top 5 teams, according to some unnamed analysts. I like that call from Crumbs. Who wants to see the Gladiators walk away with the victory today? The Los Angeles crowd cheering for the Gladiators. No surprise for me. It's time to get this match started. It's San Francisco Shock facing off against the LA Gladiators.
The Gladiators have crushed this first attack. Big goose, big plays.
The Shock, however, are looking good. Baby Bay again, still a menace.
That's a big bang.
Bring the thunder, my friend.
Let's hear it for the San Francisco Shock. Sinatra coming out of the tunnel, Super right behind him. High fives all around as the youngsters trying to lead this team to their 7th victory of the season.
And they'll be doing so with the Sombra Tracer that we love from Dante and Sinatra. Playing in Volskaya in the first map, these two guys are going to have to be really proactive and zeroing in on the backline, and I'm really excited to see what Super can add to this one. So it's not just those two.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep harping on a little bit about Super, but this whole squad I'm excited for, because they've got, honestly, this is the team that they were planning for from the get-go. They finally got Sinatra, they got Super in, Moth alongside them as well. It feels like a lot of the weaknesses that we've been seeing in the past have been plugged up, and it opens up so many doors for them, so many different compositions.
Does that mean we could see Dive today from the Shock?
Potentially. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised for it, but again, we are going into Volskaya as the first map. They are running Dante, and Dante's been moving over to that Sombra specialist role, so who knows?
Slow and careful the way to play. Keep your eyes on Moth. This team has definitely improved since his inclusion in the lineup. He can play it all, including the Ana. And of course, Sleepy. Zenyatta balls coming at your face. He is going to be throwing out those right clicks, looking for the big picks on the enemy Tracers. San Francisco, one of the youngest squads in the game today. They have their 18-year-old superstar Super in the lineup. On the other side of the stage, though, they're going up against some fierce competition. Let's hear it for the LA Gladiators. The Finns, Shaz and Big Goose, the support duo, taking the stage first here for the Gladiators. The real question is, who else is in the starting lineup for DPS? It looks like Bijou is there, and is that a Silk Thread?
It is Silk Thread. I mean, he's showing himself now, starting in this lineup alongside Asher. I mean, Crumbs, you got some points here, my G.
I'm really curious about it, my G. Thank you for setting me up like that. But I think that Hydration, or rather Silk Thread, I want to see what he does, because this would be the map where I say you put in sure for 100% of the time. He's got the Sombra, he's got the Widowmaker, you've got McCree Soldier, you've got pretty much everything that you need for Volskaya. So they must be cooking up something real special here for it, because that's what the Gladiators do.
And that's exactly what's got me so curious now as well, because it seems like a bit of a no-brainer, right? You run Shorefall for that sort of flexibility. It seems like a Sombra map. I think Vishu's having a bit of trouble with his chair, Fisher.
Those handsome tank getting in the zone, baby.
Meditating. I mean, I gotta respect it, but again, like, what a Gladiator is gonna be pulling out here with this DPS combo, and I'm excited for it, honestly.
We know Fissure is going to have the most pressure on him. That seems to be the enemy strategy. Take down Fissure, you can take down the Gladiators. For me, puts a lot of pressure on Bishu today, and his dad is watching from the audience. Will he be able to get his dad a win? We're going to find out. It's time to kick off this match right now as we send it to our casters. It's Uber and Mr. Rex.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Puckett. The last time these two teams went head-to-head, Matt 4-0, drubbing it was for the Gladiators. But now the Shock coming back with a bit of a new look, some better sneakers, and perhaps the ability to bring this game back in their favor.
3 new players. Moth obviously in for the Shock. He played a little bit towards the end of Stage 2, was not in their first matchup, but then obviously Sinatra and Super. I think you're going to see a much different San Francisco Shock in Stage 3. I think this is where you really start to see them come on as a team. I think for the Gladiators, it's interesting. You have Silk Dread in the lineup. Silk Dread, just acquired from the LA Valiant. A trade between 2 LA teams doesn't happen in professional sports. Happens here, though.
Definitely not a thing. Yep.
So, but I think Silk Dread, he can play Genji. He has a lot of the same heroes as Surefour, right? He can play, Genji, Widowmaker, 76. Can play a little bit of Pharah. So he brings a lot of different things to the table.
He's mad flexible, right? Like, if you want that Genji, flexible. If you want that Genji player, you've got him. But then if you want to switch him back, I mean, there aren't that many players. I know Baby Bay is one of them, but not a huge amount of players that take care of both that Genji and then sort of a hit scan or
Libero, Baby Bay to an extent.
Like 3.
I will always see Agilities playing now.
That is true. We've seen his 76 before. We've also seen his Tracer. But Volskaya Industries, as you may have already deduced, is going to be our first battleground for this matchup. And again, for the Shock, it is time for that redemption they've been seeking so much throughout the course of the Overwatch League. There's 6 wins, 14 losses so far. It's been a rougher road for the Gladiators. They're 10-10, even Stevens.
Yeah, the Gladiators with their last stage put themselves right back in contention for the overall playoffs at the end of the Overwatch League season. I think where the San Francisco Shock can benefit in this meta is that one of their support players does not play that pivotal Sombra role that we've seen so far throughout the day, at least here in Stage 3. Dante plays a very good Sombra. You can have him play Sombra, Sinatra play Tracer. It could be a pretty good dive comp.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, will we see Sleepy go to that? Probably not. I mean, we know now, especially in the past, we had the Flex support play Sombra. Now it seems like the 2 DPS are sort of more than happy to sort of pick up that role. And it's interesting because Chaz, a 6 Sombra?
Yeah.
It's a 6 Sombra, man.
How do you make it work? So, it'll be the Shock on offense to kick things off. Sleepy will play Zed, Moth will play Lucio, no surprise there. Dante will play the Sombra. Like I had mentioned, and Super will play the main tank role. Yes. What I like from Super as a player, Mitch, extremely aggressive, extremely decisive. When the guy decides he wants to do something, communicates it to his team, and then just goes out and does it.
He's insanely bright for an 18-year-old as well. He's a born leader, one of my favorite people to sort of spend time with here in the Overwatch League. It's the dive time. It's already started. Chaz is down. Sinatra now is going to join the fray, but Supra's in there. Look at him. He's found himself 2 already. And that nasty dive working out.
This is what they struggled with at the end of Stage 2 when you saw Sinatra come in. He plays so aggressive. What was the issue? He had nobody there with him deep. What did you see there? Super jumps right up to the high ground there with Nevix. They put a ton of damage down on the supports, and then Super jumps out to his teammates. Sinatra's up there on the high ground to pick off the rest of those kills.
Straight on in, no messing, fam. Drops the bubble, and he's isolated that Mercy almost immediately now. And of course,
1 HP.
No problem. It's Super. Again, like, we talk about tank players on this team, and Nomi was definitely a protective player. He talked about, in his interview initially, like, he wants to protect his teammates. Super doesn't care. He knows that Sinatra's got himself covered. He's just going to jump in, try and get some of the glory for himself. That's what we want to see from these tank players, and they're doing it again, Matt. Here's the dive.
Pulse bomb. Doesn't connect with anything there, because they're just trying to get Bishu out of this mech here. But Bishu doing a nice job just playing in the corner. Fisher and Asher dived all the way into the back line, and they got their job done, right? They go all the way in the back. They take out 2 members of the Shock, and they're forced to back.
Asher me outside. How about that? The Tracer turning up here. for the Gladiators. Actually had a very quiet first fight. And winning that fight is very important for the Gladiators because, again, they would have gotten behind in ultimate economy if things had gone wrong. But Asher straight away knew he had to go in and find these assassination kills.
And I feel like, you know, this is the type of player going to see from Asher, right? Very aggressive. I feel like now with this shock lineup and how they're kind of constructed, I feel like you're not going to see Sinatra with as many final blows as other Tracers, but I think you're going to see his eliminations be high. I think you're going to see him just contribute a lot to many kills, right? Put a damage down on multiple players. It's not like that assassin style of Tracer players.
Note that hack does go on cooldown if it's interrupted. A couple seconds, so Dante needs to try and get a clean channel of that off, and they've lost Super already. Dante wasn't able to be in the mix, and surely he's not thinking about EMPing. No. He's got himself out with the rest of the team. Nevix, though, not so lucky.
Yeah, Nevix will get DMAC. They kill him right away, though, so not any stagger there. Is maybe they would have went for, you know, something there, invested a few more ultimates, but Big Goose did use his Valkyrie, so probably didn't want to try and risk some ultimates all the way through that healing, knowing Shaz also has his Transcendence, so you hold on to some of those ultimates. You come back now for San Francisco, you're fully stacked with ultimates. You're going to have all 6 to use here.
It's going to be a messy fight as a result. It's unlikely that either of these teams come out of this with the same amount. They're going to sort of try and blow as many as they can. First pick's very important. Let's see who's more disciplined. Pulse Bomb kind of whips there from Asher, and Nevix starts off the fight by dealing with Fisher here. Probably the biggest key for the Gladiators in some of these fights. He's brought back. You can see how much they emphasize keeping the Winston in the mix. Silk Thread is hacked though. He's forced to back away. Boy can't even wall climb right now. And Sinatra gives him a TED talk, shuts him down. Fisher and Silk Thread are missing. Fisher dying twice already in this fight. And Super more than happy to bounce straight back through to deal with Bishu, trying to encroach back in onto the point. Asher's dealt with Dante. You see Bishu got hacked up there. Still gets a self-destruct after getting desuited.
And they don't even have a tick though right now, so it's going to be Super getting back onto the point. You see Big Goose up in the sky. He will fall. It'll be Sound Barrier that keeps everybody alive here. As Silk Thread using this Dragon Blade. Wanted to use it in the last fight, but he got hacked up before he had an opportunity to. Shaz comes in here with the Transcendence, and Fisher with a big Primal Rage takes out both supports.
Intense fight. Fisher, huge impact coming back in with the Primal Rage. Sinatra shuts down Silk Thread, but with Super now biting the dust, and Fisher walking away with 3 huge kills in that fight. The Gladiators can hold strong. Remember, this is the Los Angeles team that we saw really rise to the top in Stage 2, narrowly missing out that finals berth. And Fisher was at the helm of this resurgence match.
Yeah, this Primal Rage was huge. Getting both supports here, because Sleepy lasts a little bit longer. He probably has another Transcendence. Just you know, keeps everybody alive. Maybe make something happen. I think it's so interesting, right? When both teams have like 6 ultimates or like 5 or 6. It's like those fights are so impossible to predict because it's absolute chaos.
As the Transcendence there's been forced out. Asher don't care though. Pulse Bomb cuts through the healing, and Moth has been removed. No chance to really do much to Lucio in that particular fight. Sleepy's Transcendence may have helped a bit, but Asher is off the chain. He's been unleashed now. He's got a lot of room to work. Once again, Fisher is in the middle of everything. Super does go for the Primal Rage to try and gain some space, but again, the Shocker forced to back out.
Yeah, you know, Super's made some pretty nice progress with these Primal Rages. It's just not able to capitalize on some of those openings, some of that space. We'll see if they try and, you know, maybe switch something up in terms of their comp here, San Francisco, right? Because, you know, they had about 5 minutes to attack. Now we're down to, you know, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. It should be a fight that comes up next. The Gladiators are able to win with, you know, relative ease. Transcendence, most likely, and you have a Dragon Blade. As Dante will get off that EMP, connects with 3 members of the Gladiators.
Yeah, they're stuck with candles here and books. Not much else going on. Lights are out. Fisher and Big Goose are down. It's going to be the Dragon Blade coming in for Silk Thread here, looking for the backline. Oh, very nearly had Sleepy, but he gets pinned up against the wall. Great peel back from Nevix to deal with the Genji, trying to find his way back into Gladiator's squishy line. Bishu gets himself a bit of a bonus self-destruct kill on Super, but the DPS is still present, and they're delivering for the San Francisco Shock. Pulse Bomb stuck to the shield, doesn't affect the Gladiators for the time being, but they're all fighting in this side room. Sinatra's a little bit afraid of getting too close to Fisher, and for a good reason. The fists are flying, and the Primal Rage is paying off now. Nevix is forced to go back over the edge.
The Gladiators will hold on yet again. So I feel like the Shocker are just trying to work for some kind of ultimate advantage in any way. A few ultimates used there by the Gladiators. This is a decent opportunity for the Shock here, Mitch, right? You're going to have Sound Barrier. You're going to, you know, most likely out of that Sound Barrier end up with Transcendence. You know, Dante puts down enough damage, you're going to have an EMP here. You don't have any support ultimates or Dragon Blade or even Primal Rage available for the Gladiators. It should be a fight that the Shock should be able to take.
Shaz down early. He almost got picked off before, but this time it's for real. Big Goose also missing, so there's not going to be any resurrect in this fight, and it looks like the Shock have found the key to taking the point, and they do it straight through both supports. No Alohomora required, and the Gladiators are caught out. This should be it. The Shock have this one wrapped up, and they get themselves both points with about 1:15 left.
I liked what they did there in terms of like a set play. So Sinatra actually goes all the way on that, one of those top conveyor belts that goes all the way around that top left, and he just waits. And then Super jumps up to that top bridge, and it forces Shaz back into that left-hand room, and Sinatra just comes through the backside and just deletes him. They just get rid of that Zenyatta right away, and then work their way back towards the point.
One thing that maybe you don't know about Super is that
I know everything about Super.
Yeah,
Not going to surprise you.
You know little about little, man. I'll be honest with you. But Super, look, was a big tank player back in when sort of quad tank first really came back in on LG Evil. He was actually sort of relied upon to be often the Reinhardt player. So he's actually got a lot of experience on different tanks going way back. And people even wondered, is he going to be the D.Va player on this team? LG Evil actually had like 4 D.Va players on that team at the time. Like Train, even Jake played some at the time. So yeah, guy's been around. There's no doubt about it. And he's fitting in nicely already.
And I think you see the benefits of aggression. I think, a lot of the time some teams get kind of caught up in like, oh, should we dive? Should we be more passive? It's like, well, as long as everybody's on the same page and they're doing it together,
it doesn't matter which.
It's fine. It doesn't matter which, right? As long as everybody's on the same page and they understand the game, like from just like a mental aspect, and everybody's on the same exact flow of situations and how to play them, I don't think it really matters that much.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Dropping something on the floor or check. Seeing the player games has always been a fun. Yeah, I mean, you've even got teams like London, Matt, who sort of used to be this like super aggressive dive team, but now they're just like, well, we're going to wait for the enemy teams to make a mistake with their dive, because if they're not on the same page, it's going to fall apart. We're going to debate them pretty hard. They did it to Soul really hard in the last stage.
I would also say if you look at Super and Sinatra, right? These guys have been watching so many games. They have seen a lot of footage of what doesn't work. they should have seen a lot of footage now from what other teams are doing that are pretty successful, right?
On the bench for the Shock for the first 2 stages, so they saw a heck of a lot of what doesn't work, Matt. But the point is, can they make it work now? And there's a Moira here on defense for the Shock. This is interesting.
So this is something we didn't really talk about with the Gladiators, in terms of having Silkthread on the team. Usually we see it's going to be like Surefour who plays the Widowmaker, and it's Asher who always stays on Tracer. Asher is a very good Widowmaker. We're seeing him play Widow right now.
They're trying to deny Widowmaker angles right now. The Shock are playing all inside that little room, and they're going to get the most out of Moira's biotic orbs by staying close together. There's a heck of a lot of healing available if you stick near that.
Well, I think the main issue is that if you want to contest the high ground, but Moira can't really provide a ton of healing up there. That, I think, is the problem. So you have to play on that lower.
Yeah, perhaps one or the other, chicken or the egg kind of argument, I suppose. Nevix gets desuited. He tries to shove Asher away, but Asher just repels back in, and he's found Nevix. Now what? Sinatra's trying to burst him down, but Big Goose is there with the healing. Sinatra realizes he should probably opt for the Mercy instead. Still harassing, not giving Asher any room. Still, space aplenty on the point for the Gladiators, and they'll get that first tick. Now, it's really only Sinatra here for the time being. It's unlikely that we see a heck of a lot else from the Shock, and probably notably as well, Silkthread is showing us his Tracer, which we didn't get to see.
Well, I mean, when they had Suit playing all the time, there's no real reason to put anybody else in on Tracer. It's a very fast point A take there for the Gladiators. I think a lot of people are wondering, how was Silkthread going to play? Was he even going to participate in this match today? But he's definitely shown us his large hero pool.
Silkthread now to pressure down Sinatra on the point. Right? Tracer very active. A lot of blinks being utilized here. Super's trying to stay inside the bubble of safety. The pulse bomb doesn't really connect. It looks like Nevix was there to eat it right up, and Super can't get away. They're not going to let the monkey get back. Going to keep him in captivity for the time being. A self-destruct there by Nevix to get the resuit. He goes low, but he still gets back in. On the point, though, again, there's no one from the Shock. You see the Silkthread has essentially zoned both of the tanks away for this point. The rest of his team have moved in. Ash's got all the room that he needs. And that should be it. I mean, it might be Super to jump on. Dante's just behind him as they throw themselves in. Oh, Sinatra's lucky to be alive. The headshot just wasn't charged enough. Asher takes to the high ground, finds Super. Wow, this guy's really starting to kick off.
Yeah, this has been a very easy push here on to point B for the Gladiators, as players just coming out, trying to just contest the point for the Shock. That'll be point B taken with 5 minutes and 34 seconds left. So that Widowmaker gave them a ton of problems. They ran that Moira at the start. And what you want to do with the Widowmaker is you want to contest the high ground. You can do that with the Sombra, and you can do that with the tanks you're running. The issue is Lucio, unless he kind of goes over to the top, right, can't really heal that. And then Moira, it's kind of difficult. What, you stand there and just jump up and down and just use her spray up on the high ground, or just throw up an orb, which most likely gets eaten by the offensive D.Va, because they're using defense matrix to just block any damage coming to the Widow anyway. So I think they really, it hurt not having that Zen there at the beginning.
It seems like that was clearly a set play, and the Moira was intended to be used in such a way that they get a lot of value out of her proximity, which is what Moira requires to be effective.
Well, I agree from the Shock standpoint, because you see this lineup being brought out from the Gladiators, you expected it to be more of like a dive composition, right? Where Silkthread was going to play the Genji. If they didn't need his Genji, then he would go over to maybe something like a Widowmaker or whatnot.
Right.
You probably didn't expect Asher to be playing that Widowmaker, and then Silkthread to still play that Tracer. So it was probably a design play from the Shock, something that they kind of thought they could take advantage of the Gladiators, because if they're going to just dive, Moira has just those two avenues where she can just get a lot of value out of those orbs.
Impressive to say the very least, Matt, from the Gladiators. We wondered what their ceiling was last season. We saw them rise, and perhaps they continue to do so here. Big challenge being issued to the Shock now to try and equalize things. Get the attack done as quickly as they possibly can, with the Gladiators looking pretty airtight.
The Gladiators will have Silkthread on 76 up on the high ground. It's going to be another aggressive push that come in from the Shock.
That's
This
like a hand
time,
trigger.
though, they're able to take out Super. It'll be 2 kills, though, that go in favor of the San Francisco Shock. They did lose their main tank, though, at the beginning. They're going to lose their off tank as well.
Yeah. Bishu getting Nevix de-suited, but Big Goose is down here, so healing's not looking great. And now this is where Sinatra starts to spread his wings a little bit more. Bit of a slap, doesn't quite get the melee attack, but he'll have the point. It's so interesting to watch that. We saw the Gladiators immediately, both Fisher and Bishu jumped on top of Super when he went for the dive, right? They were on him, but that left the rest of the Gladiators apparently vulnerable to the ground attack.
And I think that's how they kind of want to play this, with Sinatra on this Tracer role, and he just kind of goes off on his own, just create chaos and open up lanes for him, and we'll just kind of hope he does what he did there. Pick up a few kills, extend those fights, allow other teammates to get back, as Dante's trying to build up to this EMP, but just one really good last fight. Sinatra, though, can definitely turn the tide with this pulse bomb.
Using a couple blinks here just to get position quickly. He doesn't want to give him spot away. Pulse bomb kind of fizzles off the edge. Won't get the finish on Shaz.
It hit that little upswing on the ledge and just kind of rolled over the side, but if that lands on the platform, probably kills Shaz, but it may not even matter because he had 2 teammates dead at the time. Only 10 seconds left. He's going to actually have to be the one that gets the touch here.
Yeah. And he knows it, hoping just to try and pressure Silkthread down a little bit. Probably had to wrap around. The best he can do is touch the point and then dash back to the opening to the rest of his team, I think, get behind his tank line. We'll see if that's going to be the case. Oh, maybe a little bit of a change of plan. He's found Shaz again. Nevix going to get dived on the high ground, but Super's free on the low. Bisha, though, and Fishy deal with Nevix pretty comfortably. That's going to be the Transcendence coming out from Shaz over the point. Not great timing for the Shock. What they want to do is maintain close presence to the point, but don't get too aggressive. Now they have their own Transcendence. Fish is hacked. He can't jump back into the action now. He's caught outside. He's going to have to wait a couple moments before he can get back where he's most needed. Dante's taken down by the self-destruct by Fishy. Will call it a lucky dip, but that's all it needs to be. Silkthread Dragon Blade to punctuate the hold from the Gladiators. The Shock come up with little here on the second run through.
And I think what we're seeing the Shock struggle with here, Mitch, is that when they dive, they're getting counter-dove, right? So Fisher and Asher are getting into their back line. Same with Silkthread, whatnot. They're not even sending really Bishu with him. They're just leaving Bishu back to kind of protect the supports. Is that they're not able to keep anybody in their back line alive. The Shock are just, they're letting Asher and Fisher get all the way back there and just cause so much chaos. They're not able to sustain through these fights.
We saw on defense there that Fisher and Bishu were very heavily conditioned to immediately dive on the first tank that sort of jumped into their back. First to a Super. And they managed to remove the Winston, but then Nevix had some time on the high ground just to watch, and then the rest of the team went through. The second time was actually Nevix that dived in. They still managed to remove him. But then it just becomes kind of a fight between the 2 teams' backlines without actually much tank interaction.
And they're going to go with this Moira again. So maybe this is a set strategy to play inside of here, but we've seen, we have enough evidence over the course of Overwatch history of how to deal with whether it's Widowmaker, whether it's 76 on the offensive side up on the high ground. We've seen it be stopped enough, right? What do? You either jump it before they get through that garage on the side. Maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe instead of letting them get to the high ground, they're actually going to attack that right side door you just saw.
They don't show the
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Sleepy shoots a Vital Orb at the ground. It bounces up and down obnoxiously about 20 times. And they can get healing from it. Kind of feels like on a Reinhardt for this kind of play if you're trying to be static.
I think they have to attack this before they get set up on the high ground, because they have to keep these guys on the low ground to get any type of usage out of this Moira. Like right here, they need to just jump at this door right here.
Really need to work with it. So Sinatra's already made his way in. Dante's there. Okay, here's the die. That's what we're looking for now. And they use a little building to obscure their jump in trajectory. Nevix is going to get desuited, and Ash is going to have to play a little bit close up here on the Widowmaker, which is not super comfortable in general.
They were trying to jump in there though and like split them off. The issue is they split everybody off except Silk Thread. So it was the entire 5-man squad getting up to the high ground. Silk Thread's Tracer on the bottom. That's almost like what the Gladiators would have wanted.
That's all Super could do really, is try and jump up and keep them there for the time being, because Asher, it's just open season for him right now. No one protecting the players that were trying to hide, and we've seen this before, but this time, yeah, Sleepy's going to join the party. Oh, Sinatra! Oh dear. That's rough. Sleepy just drops off the edge. He doesn't want to submit himself to the fate that his teammate suffered. The Shock give up the first point very unceremoniously. They're dragged, kicking and screaming over to point B.
And now all the Gladiators need is just one tick here, and Moth is switched over to Ana, so you reset, in terms of ultimate economy on one support. Really relying on Sleepy to, Coalescence isn't really like don't really kind of value it as much as like a Sound Barrier or a Transcendence or a Valkyrie, right? You're gonna have Valkyrie in Transcendence here for the Gladiators. This is really, their map to lose.
Silk Thread going the long way around. Fisher gets desuited at the start of the fight here for Sinatra. It might relieve some of the pressure, but you can see the Gladiators are still looking for victory. The stick was there. Not going to be anything to come of that one for the time being, though. Silk Thread wants the pressure in. Nevix stills with Shaz now. We're going to have the Coalescence. You can hear it ring out. Sleep trying to give everyone a bit of a hose down here. Let's see if it's enough to keep the Shock topped up. Primal Rage for Super in the corner. No one puts Super in the corner, apparently. And Silk Thread needs to try and do a circuit of the health packs to stay alive. He's getting a lot of damage chunked away from him here. Trying to use the defense matrix, but no, Sinatra to follow up. He saw his opposite number was low on HP. Went for the chase.
And there's a hell of a sleep dart for Moth. He's actually able to put Fisher to sleep when he's trying to push back onto the point. They're trying to re-engage, and everything kind of falls apart after that. Silk Thread will play McCree here. So, interesting, we usually don't see... Oh no, gonna go over to Tracer. Okay, so... For a second, I thought we were going to get treated to a McCree, but it really wouldn't have made much sense unless you're trying to control the high ground, which kind of taking the space away from the Widowmaker, so...
If you see McCree on the low ground and he gets dove, someone puts a Winston bubble on him, it's curtains.
Yeah.
Doesn't want that at all. Tracer gives him a little bit more flexibility. His Tracer so far this match look really good. Okay, so it's going to be a very angry Super now. He gets the nano boost to dive in. Moth trying to prolong his lifespan with the use of the biting grenade, but he's still being doggedly pursued here. It doesn't matter though. He might go down, but that's all Fisher's going to get. Good work by Moth to delay and waylay Fisher, who was just looking for a quick pick in the backline. But while he was doing that, the rest of the Gladiators got smashed.
And I think if you're the Gladiators, knowing the support core that San Francisco's running right now, you're really trying to just build back up to your own Valkyrie and your own Transcendence again, because they just don't have as much survivability, right? With Coalescence and obviously Nano Boost, is good for the damage mitigation, but you only give it to one target, right? Yeah. So I think right now your focus is building on ults. Maybe you want the Deadeye for a little bit more zoning capabilities. Zash will go over to Tracer now.
I mean, if you use that high ground as a staging point, as the Gladiators are now, it's not terrible. As long as the flash is up. Oh, that's a beautiful stick. No, Sinatra's going to fall to his own pulse bomb, but he gets too high. I think he'll take that. Big Goose and Silk Thread go down. The flash was there, and the best that Silk Thread could go for was a Pyrrhic victory. It's not going to be enough to give the Gladiators any more progress here on this first tick, the one tick they need on this second point B.
And we talked about how deadly it is when you can just dive onto that McCree. He's not able to really get anywhere. What happens there is, as they dive in, they hack Bijou. So now he doesn't even have the defense matrix to keep that McCree alive.
Oh,
so Silk Thread is just kind of standing there up on the platform. It's a free target.
Well, and at that point, not even a used car salesman could sell Bijou at that point. He doesn't do anything. He's like a walking trash can.
Bijou's hacked again.
Yeah, Silk Thread, what are you going to do now? There's a bubble in the way. Defense matrix also flash. Doesn't ring true. The rest of the Shock quickly abscond around the corner and try and break line of sight, but Fish is in the back line. He's in the cookie jar. What does he get with this one? Asher joins him and they're able to get Sleepy. I think Moss in deep trouble there. Anna's not built for that kind of rough activity. I'll leave it there. Fisher gets, that was perfectly read. He knew Dunder was coming back. He spotted the translocator on the floor, and now it's time to make this one even worse for the Shock. JC down at it, Supra. Self-destruct, and Sinatra tries to throw himself in the mix. Sleepy's off towards the side, but he and Mob can't get there. There's a pulse bomb dropped in. Special delivery. Map 1, Los Angeles Gladiators.
Once they were able to build back up towards that Valkyrie and Transcendence, they're able to storm onto the point. Take it, Fisher gets all the way into that back line again. They actually got the hack on to Bishu up on the high ground, but when they ended up going to dive on the Silk Thread, that's when the Gladiators dove into their back line.
And rough stuff here. We expected much, as we often do from the Shock when we see a new player hit the lineup, but again for the Gladiators, Silk Thread, although it might have gone for a bit of a joyride here. Big impact in this game from that individual, showing us roles we haven't seen before, which is great. Good to see him in the roster. Map 2, right around the corner. You're watching the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
What's up, Super? How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Excellent, bro. You know, this is the first on point that we've had a player who hasn't actually played in an official Overwatch League game.
Right.
Tell me, man, how anxious are you to get out there and finally prove yourself?
You know, it's been a long 20 games of waiting, watching my team. Obviously, the reason I came out here was to play, and I had to wait, getting anxious, but finally ready to go out there and hopefully, you know, win some games.
Just tell me how excited you are about that day. Like, can you imagine what's going to be going through your head?
You know, I see people coming out of that tunnel, and I'm like, That's got to be a little bit of, little nerves going on there. Coming out of that tunnel, everyone's cheering you on, clapping you on. You got over 100,000 people watching, at home. So it'll be a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm ready for it. So.
Yeah. How does your family, how did they react to all this happening?
I have to give credit to my dad because he's like the one who helped me get out here and allowed me to do this. Otherwise, I'd still be back in Philly going to high school. My dad used to get before I was signed to a team, he used to get really mad because I would be up late and I'd be really loud, and he didn't know what I was doing because I didn't tell him. And he's like, "Can you just go to bed? Like, stop being loud, stop waking me up." I was like, "I got this."
You didn't tell him you had a master plan.
Yeah. He looked up Esports, and then the first thing he saw was like a Forbes article on it. So he's like, "Oh, hold up, maybe there's something going on here." So he read into it, and then he finally was down for it. So.
How are you dealing with all of the fandom around the San Francisco Shock? Because they have probably one of the biggest, most dedicated fan bases.
Right. I love seeing all the fan art, honestly. I think it's cool. Like, people I don't even know that they draw fan art, they watch our streams. I think that's like, I think it's sick, honestly.
Yeah. And Tyler, in particular, is somebody who's super excited.
Right. That clip of Tyler when he did your job for you. He shot it back to the casters. I thought that was so funny.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good, man. I was like, oh, I felt threatened. I was like, this guy's taking my job. Come on, man.
Thanks for tuning in and watching. Let's support these boys up here. And with that said, let's go ahead and shoot it over to our casters, Semler and Hex, with more of the action in the second half.
Do you have any, short-term or long-term goals here in the Overwatch League? I mean, I know getting out and playing your first game would definitely be one.
Yeah, getting the first win, that's the short-term goal. I just want to make a lasting impact, When people talk about history, I want to be in that discussion.
Superman, much appreciated. I wish you the best of luck in your first game, and early happy birthday to you. I feel like I got to get you a cupcake or something like that.
Thank you, dude.
Man, super. He's a cool guy. Just a cool guy. What's even cooler is the fact that his parents, they're here, they're supporting, they're showing love. Give his parents some love right there. Holding up the super signs. I love it. But guys, that was a little segment we do on Watch Point called On Point, where I sit down with the players and kind of get some of the behind-the-scenes information from them. I want to talk to them a little bit about stuff that's not so Overwatch-related, but Overwatch-related at the same time. So if you guys want to check that out, just tune into Watch Point every Monday and Tuesday on OverwatchLeague.com. And guys, we still have a lot more game left to go, so let's go ahead and send it back to our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
Thank you very much, Malik. I love On Point there as well. It's just like it's real genuine sort of cross-section, and and obviously Malik's just great at making you sort of feel comfortable, and it's great to see these players sort of interact with it. By the way, Malik, October 14th, chocolate chip. Thank you.
Oh, the cupcake thing. I actually thought if Malik had a cupcake there, that would have been perfect.
Oh, yeah, okay. Good. Hit me up with your cupcakes, fam. I'll take all types. I'm not very picky, but this one's been pretty sweet as far as the fair goes. We've got to see some new looks from both these teams, and now. Still haven't signed Tasumi for some reason. The Gladiators are still leaving that one in the back pocket. Perhaps they signed Tasumi to like a Contenders Academy team or whatever, and then bring her in. But Shore4 is here, of course, and that means we get a different look. So Hydration, still not in the lineups. Asher and Shore4 in the DPS.
I would be shocked if we don't see Hydration on Ilios, though, for like his Pharah and Genji and whatnot. Although, maybe you bring in Silk Thread, right? Because then he can also play the Tracer if Asher wants to play Widow. Maybe it's something new they're kind of experimenting with. I think when you see Shore4 come in here on Numbani, I think you expect him to play Hitscan. I think he's going to be playing that Soldier 76 up on the high ground. I think that's what they really want to commit to here. Maybe this is a map that they don't really value Genji, so you want to run either it's going to be Tracer 76, Tracer Widowmaker, and then that's where you bring in Shore4.
Numbani's been such an interesting map, and the way that it's been played has actually changed a lot over the course of competitive Overwatch. I mean, you think about, we've seen the Torbjorn play. We used to see a lot of Widowmaker even back on this map, especially on attack, like attacking Widows, trying to get peaks. And now the defenders don't really go for those peaks. It's all about sort of keeping the location of the defending 76 kind of quiet, or backing him up with the Ana and the Bionic Grenade on the high ground. So we'll see what the Gladiators want to come out with. I remember seeing Hydration playing Doomfist on this map, actually, if you recall, in stage 1. That was really sick. Clearly, the Gladiators deciding that's not the go-to here. But Shore4 76, I mean, he's been known as a Hitscan aficionado for quite some time now. We should expect greatness.
Yeah, keep him up on the high ground, try and protect him at all costs. And this is a map we haven't seen them play with Fisher yet, right? So obviously, he comes in stage 2 for this team, different map pools. So I think it'll take time with some of these new players, even the Shock, right? Like basically a whole new team just trying to form chemistry. How do they kind of tackle this map pool?
Bit of a mix-up now, and we've seen this map, and you know, out of the hybrid maps we see, we have seen a lot of full holds on this particular stage, especially if attackers are struggling to really get their dive coordinated. So that's the question. The Shock look more aggressive, they look more itinerant, they're running around a lot more, they're looking more lethal. So let's see if they can get this dive working off the bat. They're gonna have the Sombra in here on the attacking side, and we used to only really see it on defense from teams like Envious or others are now known Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, I think the only thing that, if you are the Shock and you get stopped, it's just what do you go to after this? We can talk about that in a little bit as Dante gets out of harm's way there. He uses the translocator to get out, as the Shock do have control of the point right now. Getting very close to building up a tick, and there goes Fisher.
It looks like the Gladiators aren't too sure about how to proceed. They gave up the point, they gained ground, but taking it back seems to be a whole nother kettle of fish for them. They're sitting here in this underpass, and they're very vulnerable, and Sinatra's more than happy to take advantage of that. Bishu desuited, and that's it. Already, first checkpoint taken, and guess what? We're not done there. Sinatra now. These shoes are made for walking, and that's what he's going to do. The chase down, pulse bomb's there if he wants to give it to Fisher, but no, that'll do.
And that's what I meant, where you're going to see Sinatra not get as many final blows. He's just going to pick up those eliminations. Shaz extremely weak. What does he do? Blinks on by him and goes to the next guy, right? Lets his diva come through, finish off those kills, whatnot. So it's a really good first push there from the San Francisco Shock. The thing I was worried about, right, is if that composition doesn't work, what do they go to? Because Baby Bay is really their Widowmaker 76 player. Who's really this team's Genji player right now? You have Architect on the bench. What do they go to? But you see, I mean, when you're playing like this, it doesn't really matter, right? It's going to be Dante connecting with a big EMP, sets the table up for everybody else to come through, wipe the kills up.
EMP completely gutted them. There's nothing easier for a Tracer than hitting a backline that has no evasive or self-peel abilities. And the Gladiators looking very muted, very quiet on this particular map, and it's unlikely that they'll get back to this point in time. Perhaps a couple blinks down from Ash could get the job done, but look at this, it's relentless! Sinatra's just not going to stop! He's got himself Shaz! Fisher down!
And they use the Valkyrie to try and engage there, and Fisher drops before he could use Primal Rage, so you burn Valkyrie there for the Gladiators, and the point still goes over to the Shock.
This man, Sinatra. I mean, his start to the Overwatch League, people expected a huge amount from him. Like, the amount of expectation on this guy's shoulders is unbelievable. But we see that signature aggression, the signature no respect play.
Yeah, I mean, with all the new players coming into, some of the teams towards the bottom of the standings, it's like, oh, well, they're just going to turn the whole thing around. It's like, there's a lot for these teams, to get right. There's just like changing strategy, getting chemistry, just overall organizational culture that needs to change. It's not going to happen with one player inserted to the lineup. And it's like, oh yeah, we got a few scrim blocks, all right, let's go. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight.
I think a lot of people know that. I think it's also excitement seeing your favorite players come into the team. Yeah. Yes, this is going to change everything. It's going to reverse the fortunes. And obviously, if you think about it and be realistic, that maybe isn't going to happen. Now, Dante on this Sombra can actually get damage done from a safer distance because his spread is reduced a bit more now. So he doesn't have to get up in the face of people. But look at that. First pick in the fight. They're going to go on in. The Shock have a lot of ultimates to work with, and Shortfall's trying to shut it down with a Deadeye. He finds Moth. He gets a D-suit now in the back line, but it's just going to force the self-destruct and resuit from Super. Dante's in trouble, but he gets away.
Well, that Fisher wants to play with that Primal Rage close, and he wants to just, stay alive on the payload and then use that Primal Rage, push on forward, extend his life. So what he do, you just hack him, and then he's not able to get away, not able to use Primal Rage. Dante able to stay alive on through this.
Oh, man. And he knows where that translocator is going, too. It doesn't matter because his target was invisible.
Sombra Tracer is so hard to play against as a McCree. I mean, if you throw the flashbang and you don't get a kill on one of them, you're dead. If you throw the flashbang and you get a kill on one of them, most likely you're dead from the other one. So it's really a no-win situation as Sinatra goes deep all the way basically into the spawn to take out Shaz.
Now, catch you with my boy Sinatra outside the enemy team spawn. We've known it for so long, and now we started to really deliver it. Ash is down. And again, always looking for more, always playing forward, never taking a backward step. I don't even know if his W key, if he presses any other key, to be honest. Pretty much on that one. Low HP though, he's going to drop back to his team, and yeah, Shortfall picks him off there. Just a body shot would have been enough to take down the Tracer at that point. And I think Dante knows they got to back out here. Nevix is just going to hang around for a bit longer, see what he can get.
Well, I mean, Sinatra's job's a little bit harder here because, obviously Dante has the luxury of the translocator going back to his own health pack. You're not running a Zenyatta for the San Francisco Shock. You're running Lucio Moira. So Sinatra is really kind of on his own in terms of heals, right? I mean, he has to use that recall effectively, which is something, you know, you talked a little bit about at the end of stage 2, right? Sometimes maybe recalling a little bit too early, not having it later in fights, which could make it pretty difficult.
He was getting chunked early by playing super aggressive. That was against the Mayhem, we noticed that. But also, you have to use the health packs really efficiently now. I mean, Dante hasn't hacked them all.
Right.
Sinatra needs to use them because he can't rely on consistent healing when he's got a Lucio and a Moira. He's got to be close to Moira and to Lucio to get that. There's an EMP here though for Dante, and this should be the final nail in the coffin, but he's not going to pull it yet because they've lost Super and Sleepy. I think Dante maybe thought about going for an EMP before Sinatra.
You have a ton of time. Yeah, you have a ton of time here if you're the Shock. So there's just some kills going down. You're really building up to the sound barrier coalescence plus that EMP. Because you need to hit that EMP on the Shaz. That's the main target here. You know Shaz has Transcendence at this moment in time. If you can nail the EMP onto Shaz, you get Transcendence out of the way, you get your own sound barrier in. You should be able to win that next fight.
Ironically, Surefort didn't need a headshot to get that kill on Sinatra, but he got it anyway. Again, it's a good feeling as McCree to be able to keep the enemy at arm's length and know that your front line is going to make sure that you constantly have that space. Dante would like to deny that, so first of all, he starts with hacking Bishu, so no defense matrix now. The poke damage means a lot more from the shot. The second run-in might be the final one, the EMP. Yep, he's setting out the translocator. You know he wants it now. Self-destruct in. Does he go for it? Yeah, he's going to pull the EMP now. So Fish is grounded for the time being. He can't move anywhere. And Surefort now goes for the Deadeye, gets nothing, and this is going to be nasty for him. It doesn't end well. Super deals with him with the primal range.
Oh, and they got the EMP onto Shaz, but nobody was there to actually push him. He uses the Transcendence trying to keep players up. Eventually will fall at the hands of Nevix as Shock still pushing forward here. Super going to get stuck, jumps into the sky, doesn't want to kill any of his teammates.
Yeah, very clever. He knows he needs to get away at that point. It's not about self-preservation. It's about not killing his teammates. We've seen it plenty of great players do. I think Fisher almost had a moment like that in the last stage. Like, it happens. You need to be aware of who's around you. All capital letters, all spaces, spatial awareness.
It seems like as the Gladiators have moved further and further back and played around this McCree, because you know, here on Numbani, right, you can just play all the way in the back as McCree, you can keep your supports there, and then what can happen, you can just kind of like dart right back into the spawn door, and then there's really nothing the other team can do. They have to just kind of run right back out. Be Valkyrie, that opens things up here for the Gladiators to get really aggressive. They don't want to let the Shock in through the choke.
Yeah, defense matrix also well used by Nevix to protect his backline from Asher. And now Asher has to bide his time. He needs to get a crucial pick here. It's the only way he brings the fight back into his team's advantage, but Sleepy's been pocketed the whole time. Moth.
EMP.
Just giving him that heal. Yeah, Dante's got it yet again. Unbelievable. Surefort can't do anything with that one, and Sinatra finds him anyway. Now Bishu, it's a hack for good measure after the EMP came out, and now it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. Dante up on the payload here. Big Goose down. Now they just need to get a clean fight win, but it is another Transcendence from Shad. That's a very quick farm of that Zenyatta ultimate, but he's been forced away. Push back. Bishu now. Bunny Blaster, he was hacked anyway. It's not like he could do anything. Purple Wall. Surefort comes in on the main to try and stall things out. Again, it's going to be tough really to make that work with Fisher dropping down and Big Goose to follow, and that will be it. 10 seconds. That was the time bank for the Shock.
I tell you what, though, I mean, just an incredible defense there from the Gladiators. You know, over 5 minutes for the Shock to attack. They're able to hold on. Let's listen in to some of the team comms there from the first half.
Keep us holding close, just scouting.
Yep.
Devin Soldier.
Mercy.
Okay, I have
Soldier
speed.
Mercy.
Mercy top. Tell when you're ready.
Alright, I am...
They miss Helix, let's go.
I'm ready, yeah, let's go.
I'm ready,
Go.
Crossing the point.
They dropped.
Play point.
Monkey point.
What's it?
Dive double.
Top.
I'm shooting Diva.
Diva. Monkey drowns.
Break that.
Wait,
Tracer down, Tracer no. Mercy no.
Monkey.
Monkey. So these teams have their own code language, so we can't listen in and find out what they're actually doing. But no, it was the focus, of course, to the Winston at the end of that fight. And we saw a Moira there from Sleepy on that first fight, which is really interesting, right? Because again, Moira, when there's verticality, doesn't always seem like a great idea, but the Shock had always planned to push the Gladiators off the point and then get heaps of value out of the Moira.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Because on the first point on Numbani, right, you're so focused about getting to the high ground and getting that 76 out of the way. But what do? Usually you jump to the high ground, you force the 76 and everybody down off that little bridge and down towards the lower, and then you fight on the lower anyway. So you definitely can make that Moira work. As you see, it's what I love about bringing like Super into the team. What I love about like Sinatra, like they just have like so much confidence. And I feel like it just kind of like progressively over time, right? It just kind of like goes to everybody else as well. Like it just starts to ooze out of them.
Well,
like,
I mean, what it was is that you can't have your hands on your peripherals during a technical break. And Super had his hands down there as well. I was going to say it's because he forged his birth certificate. He's 1918. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're out.
they just figured it out now. It's like,
yeah.
wait, what?
So
happened?
I believe it's no communication. Definitely lots of heat pad rubbing.
We're cycling through the players, figuring out what's going on.
Yeah. I like this though. I dig this better than looking at my mug. I'll be honest with you, but yeah, some discussion. We'll have to wait. They can't really talk about things. You look at us. Yeah, sorry, fam. That's the way it goes.
Stuck. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. So interesting to see the Shock. They went for the Moira play on map 1. Volskaya didn't work that well, did it? They tried to obviously intercept the Gladiators as they were diving on Volskaya, but now we get to see it here on the attack. And despite them being sort of slowed down a lot on that last stage and the reappearance of McCree on last point, Numbani, which was always fun, they managed to get it done with a little bit of time left.
Yeah, I mean, Sherfor could just play so far back as McCree. You can just kind of, play around the supports like I mentioned, and you can just dart back into the spawn. And then, let's say the dive comes in, and you work your way back towards the spawn. Then what happens? Your tanks come back in. You kind of trap everybody in there, and you get that damage from both sides.
I mean, Sinatra, 23 eliminations, 11 final blows. He's had a great hit in that first week, of course, of Stage 3. But let's go behind the scenes and see what his first week in the Overwatch League in general was like. Sinatra, it's been a long time in the making.
You guys might remember this guy from the Overwatch World Cup. He goes by the name Sinatra. He's going to be making his debut tonight.
This guy has been heralded as a prodigy. We really could be in here for a treat.
When I first got signed, I was 17 years old, but it was like a 4-month period where I had to wait before I turned 18 and could play. So I had to basically skip stage 1 and 2. Right now, 5 days away from my birthday, for my first match, and then I'm gonna start playing.
Yeah, a lot of people walk up to me like, I'm excited to see you play, and I'm like, I'm excited to see me play too. Like, I want to play badly. During the game, the coaches, staff, players on the bench can see like every angle of like what's happening, so you can like make adjustments after the game. Nice. Oh. Wait, it's winnable. Wait, we won. Oh.
So we're here celebrating Sinatra's 18th birthday and his upcoming debut. Finally, he's able to play, so we're all hyped as hell.
Happy birthday to you! Woo!
All right.
I'm excited. A lot of pressure right now, but I'm just trying to relax, scrim, listen to music, and just get in the zone, basically. My first game, and tomorrow's my second game.
You're coming in, like, quote-unquote, untested. Where do you think you rank in the league in terms of your tracer play? You can give us a cocky answer, that's fine. Or
I think I rank with the Koreans.
all right.
Looks not bad, I think. Hello. Nice to meet you. Am I just here?
Yes.
A lot of pressure, to be honest, because everyone for the past 3 months have been saying, like, oh, Sinatra is going to, like, carry this team, make the biggest difference, but it's a team game in the end, so it's a lot of pressure. Thank you, guys.
He just turned 18 on Saturday. He's finally old enough to play in the Overwatch League.
There he is, the man himself. Now the first time we get to see him, almost halfway through the entire season. Oh yeah, things are starting to heat up here. And Sinatra gets the DC on Matt in this.
Against Florida Mayhem, I thought I was going to be, like, fine for my first game, but the first 2 maps, I was pretty nervous.
Sinatra's tearing it up. This is the type of play that the Shock expected to see. This is the way you want to see a debut, right?
And for the San Francisco Shock, again, signs of greatness.
But the Shock don't get the win.
The Mayhem are able to come out on top.
Sinatra, he wasn't happy with the result yesterday.
To be honest, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations that are being put on that guy's shoulders. At the end of the day, Overwatch, very much a team game.
Oh, yeah, that's my boy. Sinatra in with 3 for 1. How did he hit Striker with that Helix rocket? Oh, I saw that, Sinatra. You can't hide that from me. That is unbelievable.
At the end of it all, though, it's the Boston Uprising walking away with the last victory over the Shock.
Well, I'm going to remember us going 0-2 in my first week of my debut. There's nothing else because I feel pretty bad. I don't know. I can't get it out of my head that we lost yesterday. But I'm glad that I'm finally in Overwatch League, like finally integrated with the team. It takes work. It takes practice. So come stage 3, I think
once Architect and Super come in, I think we'll definitely be like one of the best teams.
Hard on himself, isn't he, Sinatra? All I can think about is, you know, going 0-2 in my first week of games. I mean, such a difference for him as well. He was a big, very well-known player in Overwatch before the league was sort of incepted, or the inception of the league. Things have changed so much for players between then and now.
It's tough being a player, right? I mean, you see like all the stuff you got to go through, you know, with them, like, right? Like, you know, media of the day of games, which you used to like in the past, right? Like, show up at an event, you do the 3 days of a weekend tournament, you go home, you got like months go by, whatnot. It's extremely difficult, extremely impressive, right? That like these guys, you know, through the grind that is the Overwatch League season, can keep up this level of play day in and day out. I actually think personally, like, you know, it's not the teams. Like, I think you learn a lot about players when they're losing as opposed to when they're winning. Absolutely. It's easy to win, right? Like, you know, oh, everyone's happy, everything's good, we're winning. It's like, it's how players react to, you know, losing and how they turn around that environment. That's the stuff for me that is really fun to watch. See how those players react, and I think it'll be great to see how Super and Sinatra, you know, take a team like the San Francisco Shock, who we've seen like really nice moments from in the past, but they haven't rattled off wins. How they can kind of, you know, propel everybody else to another level of play.
Well, Matt, it all starts here. Good opening for the Shock on Numbani. Now it's time to double down and get some strong defenses here as the Gladiators go on the attack. They're going to have an attacking Widowmaker here. It's a bit of fun for sure for. They'll be looking for a pick early.
Well, this is kind of what I mentioned at the beginning of the map, that you would think that this is a map they want to keep Asher on Tracer. They want to have Surefour come in as more of a 76 McCree Widowmaker specialist, which, you know, when they made this roster at the beginning, that's kind of what you thought he was going to be. His role actually expanded a little bit more out of that, though.
Well, Bob somehow knew that there was an impending fly swatter in his direction. He drops off the edge as Surefour was looking to get him in his sights. Again, this is a great position now to play as Widowmaker. I mean, where are the Shock? The Shock have pulled around a corner. There are a couple just ahead of Surefour, hugging the wall. So now, Sinatra needs to remove either Shaz or Surefour, or ideally both. I mean, that might be asking a lot, because he's such a threat from here now. He's got such good sight lines to the point, and Ash's got himself into the back line.
Yeah, but it's basically a 3v1 for Sinatra, and with both of his healers being stuck around the corner, he's not really getting much support.
Asher has the same odds as well. You notice that he's trying to deal with 3 players.
Yeah, but at least his supports can, at least his Zen can sit up on the high ground and keep an orb on him, right? Even though it's Sinatra's being pushed all the way around the corner, and the Ana as well, there's really nothing he can get done.
Okay, the Shock have to pull the trigger now. They're going to go in. Pulse bomb dropped in. Bo Tracer's finding kills early off the ultimate, but it's the Gladiators who look very, very good. They get the first pick. Dante comes back in. Moth is just desperately clinging to life, and Sinatra's trying to stay scarce on the point. Surefour comes in, gives a bit of a hose down with the Widow's Kiss in fully automatic mode, and Shaz gives Sinatra a big kick. You've been evicted, son.
That would be good. Eviction's never.
No.
It's actually Moth.
Living in LA, it's something you fear, of course.
It's always something you're worried about, as Moth will switch over to Mercy here. Played Ana for that first point. We do see that quite a bit. Surefour will switch over to McCree. So that's like more McCree than I think I expected to see anyone play.
I am not complaining.
Well, it's always fun to watch McCree, right? One of the heroes at the beginning of Overwatch, playing a ton as a hack goes up on a Fisher. Didn't expect that. Gets dropped instantly.
Well, yeah, Fisher probably wanted to play a bit of Overwatch in that moment, but getting hacked and dived on by a Diva is not conducive to a fun and balanced gameplay experience. But good combo from the Shock there to take away Fisher's options. He was close to a primal rage at that. Dante, looking to go deep here. Oh no! Oh, he has a translocator. Fear not, but Bishu was like, oh, get out of my back line.
He was trying to go very deep there as he was almost off the side of the map. Fisher uses primal rage. He gets hacked as well, so can't jump back to his team. So Surefour will die. That'll be a... Okay, so it's going to be an EP that comes out. The Gladiators are going to invest the transcendence into this to keep everybody up.
Not the most convincing EMP. In fact, at the time Big Goose was channeling his Resurrect, he wasn't touched by that ultimate ability, so he got Surefour back into the fight. Big bombs coming in! Surefour down to Nevix, but Bishu found 2. Nevix and Moth being removed. Shock here. This is nice. They're starting to wake up a little bit more now as well. It's going to be Asher and Bishu. All can really do is try and huddle together for warmth, and the Pulse Bomb now was really employed to remove Bishu, scratch up the paintwork on the mech. But Fisher, Big Brother, has returned on the payload. Hangs in the balance.
Well, it's a great spawn advantage for the Gladiators here, right? They're going to be able to make it back to the payload a little bit faster, so they will continue to move it. So you do have Valkyrie for both teams. But look out, if the Shock use that Valkyrie, Surefour is going to have that Deadeye very soon, be able to take that Mercy out of the sky.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of Valkyrie action here, a lot of Swiss accent voice lines ringing out across the battlefield. Super now hopes to benefit from that healing while he just tries to keep the payload still. When it's time to go in, he'll have that primal rage. Right now, the Gladiators getting topped up, and they're going to get hacked away. Surefour just gets mowed down by Dante. And now Big Goose isn't going to be much longer either. Nice response. We do not often see this map. We do not often see the payload stalled up on this part of the map and defending teams able to claw back into control. This is abnormal.
This is usually a part of the map where the offense just kind of storms on through, a lot like the Shock team. But a few fights here go in the Shock's favor. Surefour switches over to Sombra, so we know he can play this hero as well. We've seen it in the past. Now we're going to get to see, this is the first time I think I know even the first series we casted, it's really been like Sombra Tracer versus Sombra Tracer. So this is the first time we'll see like a mirror composition with this.
Big Goose chunked down. Shaz was the one that took the brunt of most of Sinatra's first salvo there, so he's going to force out that Transcendence pretty quickly. The rest of the Shock are pushed back themselves right now, so Sinatra's lacking a lot of support in his vicinity. But one by one, the Gladiators are taken down with their support so occupied by this man on screen. Not much that Gladiators could have done with their front line, lacking the healing.
It's just, Dante on Sombra has been, you remember that Route 66 game we casted at the end of stage 2? He was filthy. Insane.
It was like 48.
Sombra,
48 eliminations, 8 deaths.
Right now, you got 30 eliminations, 8 final blows, only 2 deaths. 35 enemies hacked. Make it, 40 now with 20 of them being EMPs.
Wow, that's so filthy. Dante knows how to get it done. If there's anyone that we were expecting a lot from when Sombra really came into vogue, it's going to be this guy.
It has to be so difficult as the San Francisco Shock because you kind of went from a roster who didn't have a ton of options to now having so many good options, right? When you have Baby Bay, you have Dante, Sinatra, Architect is here, so it's like, how do you make this all work? When towards the end of stage 2, Dante looked very good in that Tracer win.
Right, Sinatra, the Tracer size stumbling block that the Gladiators have been challenged by so far in this stage needs to be dealt with. 40 seconds are on the clock here. Time is getting very low for the Gladiators. Sinatra avoids getting EMP'd there. In fact, it wasn't overly effective. Only Super, I think, actually got caught by that one. And he does go down. Sinatra to follow here. Fisher opening some space. He gets hacked. And has to sit on the ground and wait for that to expire. And that gives time now for the Shock to come back into this fight here. Dante gets caught out by Fisher. He drops the dome pretty much straight away. Nemix on the D-suit. Moth and Sleepy sitting in the back line. But Moth had been hacked for a lot of that fight.
You may be able to fight this, though, because you're going to have Super come off spawn, does have Primal Rage. And you have both supports still alive.
There he is. Hits the ground running. Does Super. Got the extra jump out of the Primal Rage. They get hacked up and so did Fisher. Everybody's getting hacked here. Everyone will go back and live in the forest, man, like campfires and stuff. There's no point trying to use your electronic equipment. Zasha jumps in. Nevix is close by, but no, he doesn't get to the payload in time, and they're going to get across the line. And Asher now is just clean up duty for the Trace.
And you may have seen the Shock invest a little bit heavier into that fight, but Surefour uses an EMP towards the end, connects with Sleepy, who has Transcendence. So once you are not able to use that big Zenyatta ultimate to keep everybody alive, you back on out.
Gladiators here still have a chance to come out ahead after both teams attempt to attack.
I mean, the Gladiators are in a rough spot. Only a minute to go. EMP on the other side. There it comes from Dante. He figures this should be a fight win for the Shock, right? And then in the next fight, the Shock will have Transcendence and Valkyrie.
Front line's down for the Gladiators. No tanks remaining after the EMP. They focus them down purposely. Pulse bomb. Sinatra's getting all the goods. Bishu down. He'll get another one, and of course you'll spray it.
I love it.
Don't need to say it when you can ride it on the ground. And not much time left now. Whew.
I mean, he's got 45 limbs, 24 final blows, only 5 deaths.
30 seconds.
At that point, do what you want.
Do what you want.
See, both support ults, like I mentioned, available here for the Shock. Dante builds up towards these EMPs so quick, already at 69%.
It's ungodly. He sticks around in the fight, and now he can get that ult charge a little bit safer, because the Uzi is more efficient at getting damage done. So here's the dive though. Ash has got himself into the back line, forces Dante to stand and deliver. Dante's being pocketed by Moth, and Ash's pulse bomb doesn't even really connect here. So his influence in this fight, rather minimal so far. But Super's down early. Bishu looks like he was able to get back in his mech. Hacks on Surefour and Fisher, and well, that's the two of them at the moment in this fight. I think also suffered Bishu there. Now it's going to be Sleepy backing up. They're trying to use the Transcendence to disengage. There's going to be an EMP coming out from the Los Angeles Gladiators, and Super can't do much except accept his fate. Dante also being down. Mock just going to bound forward and try and get himself on the payload, but Fishers doesn't have any time with that. He gives him the strong arm, and now they're going to sail towards the end. Nevix is going to try and throw himself into the mix, and not too far behind is Sleepy. But Nevix is hacked as soon as he gets onto the point. All these emails are being read, man. It's terrible. He's going to get the self-destruct. Email throws himself now. Fishy, will he get desuited here? It was hacked and pulse bombed. Yes, he's out of the mech. Pulse bomb dropped on the payload by Action, but it doesn't quite find the target. And now the Primal Rage going to come in for Super. Overtime ticking down. He tried to create space, but now it's just Mock. A big boom. No, he won't have it. Sinatra's going to jump away. Transcendence on over the point. I can't believe this is still going. Nevix throws himself in, and Sinatra, they're trying to set up using the healing, but the Transcendence just wasn't long enough. Didn't give themselves enough survivability. Nevix desuited, and they're home. No, Dante gets onto the point. He's invisible. It doesn't matter. EMP now coming out, and Super wasn't affected by it, but he throws himself in anyway. I can do this all day. Give me more. The Shock jump in. They'll get home. Oh, the Gladiators, they play it real close, Matt. Don't fall asleep on me, bro. We still got another run through to go.
I'm not, man. That was a last fight of last fights. Like, the way you were casting it, I think it was just going to like blow up. It's just everything was going to end as, man, that one goes for what seems like it's like 2 minutes, but it's really just about a minute of actual game time. But just you saw so many hacks go down there towards the end. Because you know everybody for the Shock who's forced to jump on the point, they're not really worried about Surefour. They're worried about like whether it's supports or somebody. So it's Super's getting hacked, and Sinatra's coming in. He's getting hacked. It was crazy. I mean, right now for Dante, obviously Surefour looks like playing Widowmaker here on offense, but Dante's got 58 enemies hacked, 32 EMPs. So that's over 3 players EMP per EMP, and he's getting one every minute. That's just insane. And it's like what I love about this is like, you know, we'll see this meta like probably through this first week, right? And then teams will adapt, like a lot like stage 1, right? We saw a lot of strategies on certain maps, and then as the week's gone on, it'll change. I am fascinated to see what teams come up with to stop this. I don't really know.
I think the only team that's going to come up with something to stop this, Matt, is Team 4.
Nah, NYXL will just come out and run the same thing they've been running for stage 1 and 2, and they'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be fine.
Oh, okay. So the Gladiators make it exciting for us here and give themselves only about 11 less seconds on the time bank for this second attack, but it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to get Numbani on the first push.
And you're probably running Widowmaker here over the 76 like they did the first time. And oh, they ran Widow as well. They ran 76 on defense, but you're running the Widow here to just try and get that instant pick off that gives you that advantage. Both playing Mercy here at the beginning, was playing on their last defense, so you're going to have the res, and you lose Bijou already. 28 seconds left, and you may not even get another shot at that.
The DC on Nevix is good on that damage to Super. Oh, are you kidding me? Where'd it come from? That was some quick movement there from Surefour. Twinkle Toes McGee now come forward. He does see the Zenyatta. He does see the orbs flying in that back corner. Shock really peeked out on this. That's what they needed. They needed a dive in, and Dante delivers with the extra damage, but it was Super that started it off. 4 seconds remaining now, Matt. Don't mind me, I'm going to go into the tank for just a moment. Fishy gets hacked up. We're in overtime. Sinatra wants to just wrap around the corner here. Fishy desuited, dealt with. Dante down. Sinatra's missing as well. This could be the turnaround for the Gladiators. They might actually get running here, but Super's looking healthy. He drops on top. Big Goose is now just a pancake. Transcendence now, and Super's going to be happy for that. 2 tanks and a Zenyatta is what the Shock are working with right now. There is time for the respawns to come in, and another Asher Pulse Bomb sort of fizzles out. Doesn't get them the result they were looking for. Both Zenyatas are traded out and are down, but Fisher had Primal Rage at just the right time. So did Super, though. Overtime, Asher throws himself back at the point. Fisher's also there with a Primal Rage, but needs to stay safe. He maybe didn't quite estimate that well, Matt.
He had to get off. He had to get off because of Nevix's self-destruct. Gets off and not able to make it back, but he needed to put pressure on the Shock spawn because he knew Dante was coming back, and Dante had an EMP at that point. If he gets anywhere close to the point, lands that EMP, it's over. But I know big plays by Sleepy, Super, and Nevix, able to stay alive long enough through that Transcendence to get the self-destruct and get Primal Rage. The second, I was like looking at it because Super's getting weak, and I'm just staring at like the mini-map and like the health bars at the top. It could not have been any faster. As soon as he got Primal Rage, it was alive. He had to be just bashing the button until it actually came
I just love that mid-fight response there. Surefour looks like he's about to get rolling, right? Nevix is desuited, he picks him off. He puts a lot of damage down on Super himself. Super's getting healed up, and then just as Surefour goes to the higher ground on the Widowmaker, looks like he's going to be in a commanding spot. Splat! straight away, we see him get jumped on by Super and Dante. Great response, recognizing that was the highest priority, is not giving Shawfall that oversight position.
So the Gladiators will run the same thing they ran on defense last time, and this got broken pretty quickly. I would just wonder how they respond to it, because if they force Shawfall off of the high ground, and they get to the point, and they force the fight on the point, and they have the Moira, it's a ton of healing. Looks like Sleepy, though, will switch things up. They're going to switch things up again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, so you see Moira come out. Because they can just play that close corner, and they're going to out-heal them with that Moira.
Fishy hoping for some early ultimate percentage with the micro rockets. That will all eaten by Nevix. He just straight away put out his defense matrix. That's how we exchange pleasantries in Overwatch. So, health pack hacked, and look at this, very quickly they're going to move forward and try and deny the high ground away. Now, Super doesn't, is he feigning? Is he faking? Does he not want to go on that high ground? I'm not really sure, but Chaz is down already, Shawfall's missing. That's it, that's the opening they're looking for. Nevix is missing, but there's still a big main tank here in the form of Super to give that protection, and it's worked. Dante with the space he was given, fights Fisher, Big Goose is down, now Fisher is just going to be desuited. They're going to try and get this one done nice and quick, and the hack comes through. One tick is all they need. You can see Chaz trying to race to the point. He won't be able to get on there though. No! We got a drawn series here in the San Francisco shot, looking shades better than that one. The Moira play once again works out.
Yeah, and you were wondering, when Sinatra would come alive, show you one of those like insane games. It was this one. We talked a lot about the Sombra play, but the Tracer of the San Francisco shot 51 limbs, 28 final blows, only 7 deaths.
His kill participation is amazing. Really ridiculous involvement in so many of those kills. Half of those elims were kills for him. Brilliant stuff. Dante as well, getting involved. A lot of assists, so to speak. Half-time is just coming up, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, it's 1-1 in this series. The Shocker brought it back. Can't wait to see more action after the desk.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
San Francisco Shock and the LA Gladiators are currently tied 1-1 apiece. And what a match we got on our hands. Now, prior to the match, I got a chance to talk a little bit to the LA Gladiators. And initially, I wanted to hear their thoughts on the Shock player Super, who's having his debut on stage. And then Bishu kind of cut me up and was like, well, yes, Super is one thing, but Sombra. And then, like, his whole team just kind of started nodding in agreement. So, of course, I had to follow up, given that reaction, asking, like, oh, okay, so are you having struggles with Sombra, like playing against her or playing with her in your own team? They said, like, well, I guess we're finding out. All right, well, then, yeah, we did find out on Volskaya. Asher's Widowmaker completely shut down Dante, who is known to play a very good Sombra. On Umbani, however, map number 2, Dante had a bit of the time of his life. He really did so well on that Sombra, and he forced switches out of the Gladiators to be able to deal with it. So, of course, now the question lingers, did the Gladiators actually deal with the Sombra? Were they able to make the necessary switches? So let's pose this question to our desk. Puckett, what do you guys think?
Thank you so much, Zoe. Great question there. Who dealt with the Sombra better? Because we saw Surefour running it in the second game for the Gladiators. Dante's been running it, of course, for the Shock. First of all, it's stage 3. We know we're going to see Sombra. She's been buffed, right? A little bit of nerf to a few things, but overall, most people claim a buff. Who's had the better one in this series?
I mean, it's been split, to be honest. Volskaya, what do you mean? It's been
the
split?
best Sombra?
The best Sombra?
Oh,
no,
it's Dante.
no, that has not been split. But it's Dante, right? Dante is the best Sombra, but the actual impact he's had on it has been split as the series has progressed. So, Volskaya, not too great, to be honest. A first showing, it was getting shut down quite consistently. Like Zoe mentioned, you know, Asher's Widowmaker, you might not think that to be the counteract to it, but it was having a hard time because of it, putting in that consistent damage, but things changed around with Numbani.
I do think that for Volskaya, something happened with the Gladiator snowball in which that the San Francisco Shock had the Ana as a defender, Nano Boost gets used in the first point, and then we cruise right on through to the second one without any support ultimate. So I think that's really what hurt the Shock when it comes to that first game.
Shout out to our fans here. Get that guy some more water. Big hydration fan. You didn't see it because you're talking. Let's get to the game. So as we take it back to Volskaya, we'll see some of the Sombra in play. But she's not the only one on the map. We saw some big boops coming in to open things up for the Moth. But at the end, it was Gladiators walking away with the first map. As we were watching Volskaya, though, first chance to see Silk Thread playing in a Gladiators jersey. San Francisco, first time for us to see Super. What do we think of the new faces?
I like, honestly, Silk Thread's performance I thought was fantastic, to be honest. He filled in that sort of role that was kind of missing with Gladiators. Shovel kind of fills it, but again, more specialized, more focused on the hit scan role. You know, we saw him running the Widowmaker, we saw him running the Tracer as well. He was having a great time.
And a Genji.
That's not really a hit scan, though. He's playing the Genji and the Tracer for the team.
Yeah, so I mean, alongside
well, yeah, he has a lot of the flex. I think the Genji is really the one thing that's setting him apart from Surefour, where Surefour has the Sombra.
I would agree with that, but the point I was making was Surefour spreads it across like butter, okay? But let's move on from that.
Yeah,
okay?
What are we moving on to, Bren? Because you said there was one particular moment that you need to draw about.
I did, yeah. This is our Insights powered by Intel. It's a fantastic little piece here, and it's honestly super simple because I would just want to point out Asher right here. This is the game-winning moment by Gladiators on Volskaya. They push this all the way off the back of it, and it's based off Asher's Widowmaker here. Great little play all around, and you can see realistically why. He's got a huge sightline all the way to the back here. He can see all the way into this point and forces San Francisco Shock's positioning all the way to the sides here, so they cannot get into the area whatsoever. They can't even peek it around the corner, and as we play this out, you'll see exactly what I mean. He's putting in this consistent damage as the fight's going on, and Shock, they can't peek, they can't go anywhere near whatsoever. They're getting these picks off. Gladiators really just winning this fight out, and you can see exactly what I mean now. This consistent damage, just poking, poking and prodding. You can see here, I mean, this is great right here. You can immediately see why the supports, they can't peek in the slightest without risk of getting picked off.
That's a Lucio that's not healing anybody, and a Zenyatta that has like 2 targets to hit a North, so it totally makes sense as to why that position is so powerful.
And of course you see Fissure just pushing up with the Diva Bishu right behind him. Gladiators take control of game number 1, and to be honest, The way they were playing early on in Numbani, I thought we were going to see a 2-0 lead for the Gladiators at the half. Let's go to game number 2. This is where the shock bounces back. We saw a nice start from Sleepy on the Moira, but it was Sinatra. He's basically spawn camping as the shock take point number 8. Very aggressive initial pushes coming in.
Yeah, this guy was honestly crazy. Once again, what we're expecting from him really turning up as well. I mean, Asher, he had a great game, but again, it was kind of, in my opinion, that Dante Sinatra show. That was what really sealed the deal for me. This combo right now, this just basically hunting around players around the map, just being absolute assassins and nuisances, and just creating massive plays, massive openings for Shock to capture.
And just constantly pestering the Los Angeles Gladiators, so much so that they were tried the McCree to deal with Dante. Okay, that clearly did not work, and the result was Surefour having to play Sombra himself in their own push to try to make matters work, and that's what we're starting to see. The meta is developing where Sombra is very much a power pick, and you got to know how to play it. You absolutely need to be playing Sombra, so when we look at these matchups in the future, the teams that have the better Sombras can go into these games with a lead.
We've got Control coming up next. Do we expect more Sombra for game number 3, or are we going back to some classic comps?
I think potentially, yeah. I mean, Ilios is a map where you do see quite a lot of it. On the Ruin section in particular, we've seen it even before Sombra was like buffed, as you know, the changes have gone through, so definitely potential there for a Puckett.
All right, how does the second half play out, Alberto? How do you see this one?
Oh, Alberto, we're dropping the names now. How it plays out, Alberto. Well, we have Sombra coming into us, and I think that for the Control, it looks really good for the Gladiators right now. Fissure is having an amazing game when it comes to going into the backline, and I think that it's not going to benefit Sombra as much as before.
All right, how many fans out there want to see San Francisco walk away with a win tonight? All right, we got a lot of San Francisco fans. How many people want to see the Gladiators walk away with a victory? We woke up the crowd, and we want to wake up everybody at home. In case you missed it, earlier in the day, we caught up with the one and only Jeff Kaplan from the Overwatch team. He showed us a very special announcement, and if you missed it, don't worry. The friends here in the control room got a recheck for you. Let's get the replay one more time. This is Retribution. We'll be right back.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? You guys having fun? You guys are having a good time? Awesome. In case you didn't know, I am Jeff from the Overwatch team. Awesome. So, for those of you who have been following along, we've been talking about an event called Overwatch Archives. And Overwatch Archives lets you play through defining moments of Overwatch history, such as Tracer's first Overwatch mission, like Uprising, that we all played last year. Did you guys like Uprising? Okay, awesome. But there are other events, such as the one that changed Overwatch history forever.
All right, Gabriel. Start from the beginning. We arrived in the Venice safe house and set up surveillance on the manor.
We executed our plan under cover of darkness. You sure you want to hear about this, Jack?
You haven't left me much choice.
Whatever happened to plausible deniability?
A little late for that. Tell me what actually happened.
Well, Jack, that's one hell of a story. Everyone through the breach. We're getting out of here.
We need to head to the extraction point right away.
So much for keeping a low profile.
Still knows how to rescue.
Someone deal with that assassin.
Keep your distance from her. Feels like Talon is mobilizing an entire army to stop us. what about you? Anything to add? Where do you want me to start?
Yeah, there you go. Blackwatch goes not so covert in the upcoming Overwatch Retribution. That's going to be so sick.
I want to go play. Like after watching that, like the Blackwatch logo looks sick as
Apparently, like I'm hoping you can get shirts with that Blackwatch logo on it.
I assume if Jeff has one, we'll all get one.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I already tweeted the Play Overwatch count.
Yeah, hook me up, bro. You know where I'm at. I'll just sit here in a.
You know where we're at. We're here.
We don't leave this room at all, actually. Right, let's get back to the game though. What a piece at halftime, Matt. Much discussion. Obviously, Sombra seeing a lot of play today. No surprises there. Ilio's coming up. Crumbs, or Alberto as he was called, I've never heard him called that before, claims or at least believes that we should expect to see the Gladiators look strong because of Vicious impact. What are your thoughts here? Because I've got to say, Super's been stepping up.
Oh, I thought Super's been great in that main tank role. I think you've seen a lot of aggression come out for the Shock and pay off in a big way. I think a huge benefit for the Shock is that their Sombra player doesn't happen to be a support, because now with the new Sombra, she's not run as a secondary support, which a lot of supports in the past we've seen run Sombra. That Dante, who's a DPS player, is running their Sombra. It allows them to kind of keep everything stable. Interesting here, we do not have hydration come into the game. So this is a map I thought you would see hydration definitely come in.
Yeah, I'm feeling very dry. I'm feeling very parched, Matt.
Yeah,
not loving
it. I get it.
Oh, is that a DAC World Cup jersey? No, it's a Canada World Cup jersey. I respect that. I see you, bro. Yeah, sit down. Watch my watch.
So we're talking a little bit during the break. It's like, what do you do against this Sombra? Like, what's your feeling?
Okay, well, we were kind of talking about this as well. We saw in Stage 2 on Route 66 teams like bring in things like McCree, Roadhog, things with damage, things with like solo kill potential. It does feel like Sombra isn't always the DPS you want to take down other DPSs.
Well, my feeling, at least initially watching it, it'll probably change over the weeks. I mean, it's been one day, is that Sombra is just getting so much value out of just shooting tanks right now.
Right.
Because
you can do it from so far away.
You can do it from so far away. It's incredibly safe, and you build up so much ult charge off of these large, HP targets. It's like, do you maybe take out one of the tanks and run something like a triple DPS, right? Because then, effectively, right? I mean, let's say for argument's sake, Sombra cuts down a Bishu on a D.Va all the way. It's like that would be the equivalent of full-on eliminating 3 DPS heroes. Now, do I think you'd have the sustainability with that comp? Probably not, but I don't know. Just theory craft.
All right, that's fine. We'll get back to that one now. The Gladiators are playing a very close, a death ball composition. I think that's the best way to put it. Triple tank, Reaper, and Moira. Really want to make the most of close quarters combat, but the San Francisco Shock don't really care too much. Sleepy going ham. Got in that Bionic Orb as well. Shields don't really do anything to that orb at all.
I mean, the thing with having the Moira here against the big tanks is now you just throw in one of those damage orbs instead of a healing one, and it's hitting everybody. There's so many big bodies on the point. Surfer immediately goes over to Sombra, so they get away from the triple tank right away.
Sinatra, not only Gucci shoes, but a pulse bomb to Max. Happy with that one after the first fight. Gladiators now switching up the composition, no more Reinhardt. They're going now for a bit more of that aggressive, oriented, Sombra-centered composition. But the Shock look like they're just feeling a little bit more comfortable on it. And that pulse bomb Sinatra was holding gets put to good use. Shaz, we'll see you on Respawn.
Man, Shock have looked really good playing around this Sombra. So they'll have both support ults. Same for the Gladiators. You already have this EMP for Dante. You don't have it on Surefour yet because he had to make the changeover. Sinatra already with a pulse bomb used. Going to have another one here soon. It'll be a coalescence used here and an EMP.
Dante following up the coalescence is there. Sleepy finds Surefour through the mass. The roiling maelstrom of bodies. The coalescence is just so easy. And Death Alley. Oh, Sleepy. That's so nasty, man.
And Shaq uses his coalescence as well.
You don't have to tap any bricks and say Diagonally to get to that nasty part of town. They had the perfect setup for that.
So, coming down those short chokes. Now you guys can get to see what I see. The hack comes down onto Surefour, so he can't do anything. Yep. It's just that constant hack, get out, and then sometimes you go in, you do a lot of damage, then you get out. It's so difficult that it'll be an EMP from Big Goose. It actually only connects with Shaz and Fisher.
Sinatra now to double back to the point. I mean, this is where his pulse bomb's going to get the most value, right? Is it going to be Vishu? Will he be the recipient? Yeah. You won the lottery, my friend. The Big Goose actually goes down, so we stuck that one to the mech. The Lucio got it caught And now, yeah, you can see that Shaz was trying to back away. Sleepy, by the way, 6 final blows, no problem. More than anyone else on his team. He's loving it. Moira really kicking off on this map, and so are the San Francisco Shock. They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but the Shock are striking hard. And they're ringing the bells here at the Gladiators.
The Gladiators trying to hold on here, though. Fisher using Primal Rage. Moth does have this sound barrier, now going to use it as more members come off the respawn. You're going to connect with no more than 3 members there for San Francisco. That's a good sound barrier.
Yeah, it's going to be Bishu there. Cornered on the point, has 1v5. It's a hard knock life sometimes. Gets desuited, now it's going to be a attempt for Ash to get onto the point, but as soon as he gets there, he's going to get hacked. He can't use his blink to get away. Got to have very dry eyes after that one. The Shock take away that first round, 100-0. That's a shutout. And it looks like, Dante spent a lot of that round just getting in Shawfall's head. He's like, hey, Lane, guess what? Can't do anything, bro. Oh, you have a translocator out? Well, you're hacked, so you can't jump back to it.
And he sees Sinatra, like, all smiles laughing on the stage. Yeah, the Gladiators is probably the exact opposite, because Sombra, when she's constantly hacking you, is extremely difficult and frustrating to play against, because you hack one person, the entire team just has to wait, and then you just turtle. And then what happens is she just comes right back in, hacks another person. And then eventually you're just like, oh, well, screw it. We have to go in eventually. Like, let's just go in. And then that's when Dante just picks somebody off in the back line.
Feels like if you're sure for it, you're getting hacked all the time by Dante, you might as well walk around with a Super Soaker. You're about that effective. Frustrating to mess your tempo up because you need to wait for a player to not be hacked anymore. Get that Norton antivirus software going. We're going to press forward now. Moth to lead the charge. Sleepy still on the Moira. This is fun. I hope to get on board a little bit more with Sleepy this round and just see how he's unraveling the Gladiators. But look at this. Look, Los Angeles opt into fighting into these close quarters. Sleepy's just giving him a big slurp with that right click and sending the Bardic Orb out. You can see he's already halfway to that ultimate. So is Shaz.
Yeah, and Sleepy's actually just got more damage than Dante as a whole. So you can see Moira almost kind of play like a Zenyatta, right? Half damage, half healing. It's just the burst healing that comes out from Moira is, pretty strong, right?
Getting close now. Kamehameha! He's going to go for it. The Coalescence comes out. Although most of the Gladiators are kind of back up on the point. Looks like it's more intended for healing for the time being. Sleepy's not even sure where he wants to deliver it. Bardic Orb thrown out, but Asher gets himself the D-suit and finds a Lucio. And Sinatra with 2 HP. There's probably one more than he needs. But even still, we'll opt to back away.
And Fisher used Primal Rage here, secure the point for the Gladiators. So you have Surefour with this EMP. I think coming through this small choke, this will be one of the harder points to take back against the Sombra, right? You're going to get a lot of good usage of this EMP.
Absolutely. Again, when the enemy team has got to group together because that's how the map dictates it, Surefour is going to have a day at the races. However, no pick-offs off the back of that. There's a sound barrier that was used preemptively by Moth.
Yeah, he doesn't actually connect with Moth, so Moth is actually able to get that sound barrier off. And now when the Gladiators jump in, they're shocked because they didn't expect that sound barrier to be there. A little bit more HP for the Shock.
Sleepy looking a little bit less like the Sandman and more like the Grim Reaper right now. Another kill. He's found Shaz. The guy's got 11 final blows so far. This is insane. He's having a running riot. He's woken up in a big way, and the Shock retake the point. This Moira performance is so sick.
It's already basically back up to another Coalescence. Dante will have an EMP to use here as well.
I wonder, Sleepy may be feeling not too worried about the Sombra as well, because if I'm not mistaken, Sleepy can still do a fair bit, providing he has the healing, available with the Bardic Grasp. It's pretty important. Dante, is it an EMP? Is it really sufficient here to get rid of Bishu? Probably not, now that Surefour's down. He'll head back up to the Batcave on high.
Yeah, you already had Bishu hacked, so no reason to just kind of add insult to injury, so to speak, and use that EMP on top. Something that could be pretty devastating is if the push starts to come in for the Gladiators is an EMP plus self-destruct, because you wouldn't have these speed boosts to get out of harm's way. And with so much open area here on this map, could be pretty bad.
Dante wants to try and cut this to the quick before it even starts. He keeps track of Surefour. He knows where he is. Dante's a little bit low on HP now. He's risking having his team EMP'd out first. Dante going down to Asher there means that they're not going to have that available anyway. Now it's going to be the Coalescence coming across on the Gladiators there. Super. No, I think he realizes it's pretty well done. Moth does well to recover and get the boop onto Fisher into the pit. But yeah, that's a fight won by the Gladiators, and they'll be able to retake control here on Ilios well.
Well, no, it's going to be Super coming in. He does have Primal Rage. You have Dante coming off the spot with both supports. Super gets hacked here, so not able to jump right back on the point, not able to jump away. there's going to be the EMP that comes out for the Gladiators. Let's see if Dante decides to use his.
Called it earlier. I can't even do that. Well, great work by Super there to keep things stalled out now, and they're going to give him so much more percentage here. Yeah, the Gladiators might eventually win the fight, but notice that San Francisco aren't investing too heavily in ultimate, so even if they lose the point, they got 26 extra percent just by stalling and dying on the point. Yeah, good call, Matt. Thought that was done.
Yeah, no, they're able to use Primal Rage. Sinatra as well, they're able to touch the point for a split second. And they actually had the Gladiators use, I believe, Sound Barrier a little bit earlier, and then EMP as well. So you got both of those ultimates out. You have your own Sound Barrier, your own Coalescence, and you have your own EMP here. So the Shock should be able to come back and swing the point back.
He sees the EMP. There might be a pulse bomb to follow up. This would be the perfect situation. And you can see it. The Gladiators can't even back away. Completely shunted out. It's Nevix and Sleepy all over the kill feed. Once again, the Coalescence yields dividends to the Moira player of the San Francisco Shock. And the retake, swift and decisive.
Well, I think teams are so used to when that big dive comes in just to be able to speed boost away, but when you're EMP, you don't have that luxury anymore as Fisher gets quite low. We head into overtime.
See what the Gladiators can do to get this one back. Probably not a whole lot here. The pulse bomb is more for decoration than anything else, but that's probably fine for the Shock. They'll have some victory fireworks here as the Gladiators are struggling. Shore4 going to have his life drained from him, exsanguinated as he tries to get onto the point. Moira really making a big impact here, but Chaz's unfortunately not quite up to Sleepy. That's going to be it. Map 3 goes to Northern California. And now the Gladiators are on the ropes.
Dude, Sleepy was sick on Moira all map long, 35 elims, 13 final blows, leads his team in final blows, finishes with, about the same damage as Dante playing Sombra, and then almost 10k healing. Just a crazy game there.
I know exactly what Sleepy's saying. He said before the game he's going to be playing Moira. I know he's telling everyone to check my play of the game. Look at this. So nasty. What a perfect scenario for Moira to really shine here. And the San Francisco Shot looking good. Yeah, I feel you, bro. If I had Sunnies, I'd do that as well. We're going to head into a quick break. The map 4's around the corner. The Gladiators must win it to stay in it. We'll see you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Caleb. And Moira has so much ability to be able to just get away from players like Linkser on the Tracer. Now getting very close, building up the ult, and there it is.
Oh, okay, the coalescence coming out here. Jae-Hong's just giving the Houston Outlaws a good hosing down. Oh, they're clean indeed. But that push for a soul was nothing but dirty. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Overwatch League, and it may be our last map of the day here. Game 3, of course. We're back for stage 3, and it's been exciting already. Who's going to take this one, man? You know, we're going to be moving on towards Junkertown, so things can just get crazy on this map in general.
I think the Shock have just been really good thus far. I think this is a meta that could be really good for them. I think I'm going to have to go with the Shock here on this final map. You're going to have Baby Bay coming in. He'll be playing the Widowmaker. They have Sinatra coming out, which tells me it really has an emphasis on the Sombra play here. So you want Sombra Widow, that's what you'll decide to go with. Silk Thread will come in for Asher, so a lot like the same thing. You're going to see Silk Thread probably play, you're probably going to see him play Widow, and then Sherfor will play Sombra. But it's interesting because on the first map, they had Silk Thread in, so Asher
I'm saying that Sherfor can play Widow, obviously can play Widow, so there's just a ton of things that they could really play.
I think the issue is you had Asher and Silk Thread in.
You want Sombra
then who plays Sombra there?
Yeah, Sombra Widow.
Yeah, that's exactly. So you need Sombra Widow. Which also we're talking during the break, right? We're like thinking, like, oh man, who are some of these other teams that have really great Sombra players? And you're like, Shaz. It's like, Shaz is a fantastic Sombra player. The issue is he's a support.
Yep.
The Gladiators don't have any other supports on their roster.
He's the greatest
Big Goose and Shaz, so you can't move him over.
Here's the greatest irony. A couple metas ago, you were considered less flexible as a team if you had a DPS player that had to play Sombra and not a support, right? I think there were a couple teams like that. I mean, Envious, for example, was timing that actually played the Sombra. Now you're considered to be less flexible if you don't have a DPS player that can sort of play the Sombra as well. So it's funny how the game changes. You know, as metas change, what teams need from their players, hero pools also changes. We need to see if the Gladiators, how they adapt to this, because it looked so good last stage, but now Sombra is a must-have. And Shaz, well, a lot of the time he has to play support. We've seen him play Genji, we've seen him play all manner of things, maybe even Roadhog on defense here. That'd be interesting. Again, a bit of a... good against Sombra, because if she were to reveal herself, it's pretty much an instant hook and book.
And it's really interesting at how, over kind of the course of Overwatch history, even when Sombra was released, right? It's like, okay, Reaper's like a really good counter to her. We haven't seen a team pull Reaper out really at all today, outside I think the Gladiators did it.
We were saying that. It's like, yo,
it's like,
what hero does the most when he's hacked? It's like, well, Reaper does probably the most damage if he's just got his primary fire, I suppose. He gets the health back, which is really important.
Junkrat's another hero who kind of like scares flankers away. Something that we saw in the previous match was the Hanzo play. And a team that we casted a little bit, AKM, right? Because you gain a lot of vision with the Sonic Arrow, Scatter Arrow, obviously, extremely devastating to flankers with low HP.
Set picks up for your Widowmaker with that if there's a Sombra that's invisible. Yeah, we've seen it all. All right, so Baby Bay up the silo. It's about a quick flick there. I think it was Mock that spotted out.
And I think, this is a very difficult spot to be if you're Baby Bay, because you come in, you haven't played a map yet, and you're playing a hero like Widowmaker, right? Who you're going up against Sherfor, who's obviously a good Widowmaker in his own right, but he's been playing a few maps already. It's much different than warming up in the back.
Okay, Super got hooked there. That was what happened. Connected with by Nevix. Gets a bit of Roadhog action in now. Yeah, we can see Roadhog take over this map sometimes all on his own. A good response here from the Gladiators. Now, shields up indeed. Silk Thread gets in there with the Junkrat.
You don't see them playing any Sombra here on the offense. So you see Dante playing Genji, you have Baby Bay playing Widowmaker. I wonder how long they stay on this. I wonder if they decide to change, because they've really got this 2-1 lead off of how that Sombra has worked out for them. But here, there's not really there is like one to make a health pack in the room to the right here, but maybe you want the Genji to put some pressure on the Widowmaker in the back.
Okay, I feel it.
See, we'll get raised up though.
So Dante over on the Genji, which he can play. Baby Bay also can play a decent Genji. The Gladiators so far have been pretty hard to put a scratch on. Silk Thread has been able to stay safe. In terms of the Shock, there's not really anyone who can pressure the Junkrat heavily except for Dante, who's got a lot of targets. He'd probably rather go for Sherfor. Shaz will also be threatening the Roadhog zones just by his pure presence. You never know when the hook's up or down. Sherfor now, a little bit of acrobatics to try and get away. It was actually Dante goes down to a Riptire. Silk Thread comes to the rescue of Sherfor.
It's a solo support that's working out here for the Gladiators.
Clever!
Oh,
so clever!
You get Sleepy there. Around the corner is the Shock going to have to back up. The Shock do have, Mitch, though, both support ultimates. Obviously, the Gladiators with just a Mercy will only have Valkyrie. And you have a Dragon Blade here. So you have Baby Bait now using Foresight. Going to gain a ton of vision. You're going to know where these players are set up. Maybe get a good use of this Dragon Blade.
You see the Baby Base, I don't know, he's trying to find a wormhole in order to get a good angle around that Orisa shield right now. He's using his grappling hook to get up. Dragon Blade in for Dante, but he's done it straight into the path of the whole hog. He does get around for the most part, but he's been forced back. Frustrating when Genji can't get to grips with his target. He sits there impotently waving around the silverware. Now Dante needs to get back to his backline, essentially, and go back to poking, charge up another blade. But Baby Bay opened up on Fisher. That's an important opening now. It's only one shield, and it's the one for the shot. See if it works out as Fisher's brought back to life, and that shield is replenished. Supercharge was also there. Dante's trying to get it, but he can't. Fisher cuts him down. The extra damage goes a long way as he ducks back behind his shield and is chased down.
Yeah, they lose Big Goose, the only source of healing. No resurrection can come through there for the Gladiators. It's not pretty for the Shock, but they get it done.
Let's chunk it down. I don't really think people care too much about your attire. It's not exactly a fancy dress party. Bit of blood, grime, and guts. You won't go too awry. Baby Bay pushing forward as well. If he finds anyone, yeah, that's what he's looking for. Players that are trying to get in position. It's clear the Gladiators are trying to use that enclosed area. And Silk Thread switch to the Genji here.
And Super is actually able to shoot him like through both doorways here. As you see, just that little angle that Baby Bay looked at for a second. He does get rezzed up, but now you know that resurrection's on that 30-second cooldown. So you know it's going to be about 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock before that next res comes through for the Gladiators.
Vast majority of Baby Bay's shots are going to go into shields or be foiled by some ability like them. But now look, so the Gladiators see the Baby Base push forward. They're going to try and pull him back and the rest of the Shock back by touching the payload. They tried to do that earlier on with Shawfall, but now the payload's moved so far forward and Dante gets shut down. Silk Thread with a Swift Strike. Gets rid of the Genji and Baby Bay, that's it, come to Daddy, he says, catches Shawfall out, trace it down, Big Goose missing. Now he's starting to wake up on this Widowmaker and really make an impact. Bishu just gets vaporized as the Widow's Kiss connects.
And this would be huge if you're able to hold on to both support ults. They do take out Sleepy. This will get rezzed up by Moth though. Looks like the Shock should be able to complete point B.
That's it, you heard it.
Relative quickness as well. So the Valkyrie used there for the Gladiators doesn't really get much with it. You had Super use the Supercharger, able to give everybody that damage boost, that range. Baby Bay able to hit some nice shots. Keep the Shock and move in the payload here.
Look at the damage the Shock are able to put out when it's just really Nevix, Dante, and Baby Bay there. So that Fisher went so low, we actually had to pull completely back. Here's the peel from Nevix. Is it enough? Well, it's enough to save his backline. I think he's going to be happy with that. Big Goose now is kind of, well, he's in no man's land here, flying very low. Dragon Blade coming out from Silk Thread as he tries to get into the backline, but Nevix gets himself that Risu. What's he found? He gets the one. Silk Thread shields his blade. Finding even less blood to coat it, but still managing to stay alive is almost more important here. Baby Bay's forced out. The Gladiators now can set up shop properly.
Yeah, and it's pretty good for the Gladiators, right? You had both support ults used there for the Shock. You're going to have an advantage in terms of ultimates for yourself, and you get this prime real estate on the map. Kind of push them back.
Prime real estate? Or you can't even grow a garden out there. It's a radiator. What are you talking about?
Oh, man, you gotta hold some jokes back. I mean, it's only the first week of the stage.
I'm a walking, talking joke. You know it. Got plenty more where that came from. Stick around. Sure,
one thing we can agree on.
Gotcha, bro. I don't even look the right shape, man. Nevix gets taken down by Bishu. Selters trying to Fisher. Wants a bit of that Widowmaker, but he does note that Moth is keeping the healing on Baby Bay. Eventually, though, combined pressure from the Gladiators will take him down. Fisher hop, skip, and jump back to the payload once again. Sit amongst the mounds of gold. Even Small could be jealous. There's a minute 45 left on the clock. So Dante's got that pulse bomb. Baby Bay switching off here. So he's getting dived a lot, or pressured down by Genjis and Tracers. So he's hoping the flashbang will prolong his life. But again, starts to get dived a lot. Oh, he gets the stick. Shawfall delivers the pulse bomb to Super. That's another good fight win for the Gladiators. It's already over.
And the issue for the Shock here is you're basically going to have to invest a Transcendence this early in terms of the payload going from B to C, like all the way around the corner, as soon as Silk Thread comes through with this Dragon Blade. So you're basically using a Transcendence to get out of your base Then if you don't even win that fight, then you're just kind of screwed, right? I mean, so it's going to be very difficult here for the Shock to make something happen.
Yeah, heavy tolls are being excised, man, I think it's safe to say. Dante relieves the pressure, at least for now. Deals with Fisher. Silk Thread goes, well, I might step back here. My Winston's kind of missing, and now they've lost Big Goose here as well, so it's got to be a disengagement now. You're not upset about this if you're the Gladiators, because still, there was a Transcendence from the Shock and a Valkyrie.
And Valkyrie, and you still held on to your Dragon Blade. So the next fight you'll have Blade plus Valkyrie, you're going to have Self-Destruct. You have a lot of ultimates to work with here if you're the Gladiators. Surefour is still, I believe, behind enemy lines as well, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. If you can put some pressure on Baby Bays. If Baby Bay stays out of like harm's way, right? Maybe a big Deadeye comes through. He'll pick up some kills, a little bit of an open area here.
Can Silk thread the needle into the back line? Trying to get past these tanks again, and they are definitely very effective bodyguards. He needs to take a step back. Dragon Blade's there. Bishy's looking low though, so it might be time to act. You can see that Nevix is sticking by his back line. They're staying close together, protecting the McCree, giving him some space at least to work with. It's not much, but he doesn't need a heck of a lot with that Peacemaker. It's time for the Dragon Blade though. It's in. Baby Bay's already down the pulse bomb. Kill still Surefour. That's not fair. Silk Thread will find some of his own though, surely. Oh, we just look cool waving the blade around. That should do the job. Sleepy there, he's completely out of position. There's no real way that he's going to be able to get into this fight. Dante is back there though. The Shock trying to bring him in. Super's been resurrected now. He drops onto the payload. It's going to be up in the air for Fisher, but he's low on HP. Fisher's not looking much better. Silk Thread is low. Discord Orb. He has to go down to the lower area and try and get himself that mega health pack, but he's been contested for it. Shaz returns to the payload though, and Big Goose is also there. The Transcendence was timely, to say the least. Moth is fallen there. Straight into the Zapper.
It's the Shock with a Transcendence of their own here, Mitch, though. They should be able to use this ultimate. Yep, keep everybody alive. Pushing the payload towards the end. Moth coming off spawn. If they can just stay alive long enough for him to get Valkyrie, they'll be in it.
Fisher going for the back line. He knows he can't sit on the payload forever. He needs to actually get aggressive. Big Goose is the only man keeping it there though. Now it's going to be the jump in. Shaz is on the Doomfist. Okay, now I've seen everything. Fisher drops in, but Nevix is staying strong. Surefour can't get there in time. And the Shock get it done. I think you put it very well, Matt, when you said it's not pretty, but it works.
No, it's definitely not pretty there. Sleepy. So they actually get in there deep, I believe it is.
Okay, mate, there's nothing on your screen, okay.
So, I believe it's Surefour on Tracer who gets into the back line, and he's actually able to take out Moth. Moth is like healing up Sleepy because they're trying to get that Transcendence. They take out Moth. He's so close to Valkyrie, but Sleepy just able to stay alive. Surefour has to use recall because he's so low. And at that point, he's not allowed. He can't obviously 1v1 that Zen from that distance. So he's able to get the Transcendence. That comes up big at the end.
Tell you what, some superstars on either side of this stage, Matt, right now. They're delivering. So now I guess the task for the Gladiators is fairly clear. Finishing the map is kind of all they need to focus on doing. And that's the question, what do they have formulated now? Last time we saw Junkertown was in stage 1, and it was pretty much agreed that you'd play some permutation of double sniper and Bastion in the mix and all this. It's your return to that. We know that Surefour loves himself a bit of the Bastion. Shaz has been known to play it.
I think it's just kind of predicated of what you think the Shock do. You know, we have seen Dante.
4-syllable word. That's new.
We have seen Dante play Junkrat a lot in the past. Super's going to play Orisa here. So they'll play solo support a lot like how the Gladiators played. So I mean, if you're confident in your Widowmaker, you can play you know, Surefour obviously on Widow. We didn't really see a ton of you know, the Hanzo come out from the Gladiators in stage 1. They tried to play a little bit of a tank heavy comp with like Shaz. They would almost play what they played on defense. When Shaz would play Roadhog, and they play triple tank. They play like triple tank with just that solo healing. Mercy looks like right now potentially you could see them run that pirate ship, that Bastion on the payload with the double sniper.
Again, you know, you try it once. If it doesn't work, you switch. But if it does work, then you've made a lot of headway, and you've probably done it very quickly.
For a second there, I thought they were trying to maybe like bait them into a chain. Baby Bay.
Oh, I felt it in my guts.
Gets obliterated there by Surefour.
Welcome to the map, bro. Dante. Oh, Surefour, what are you doing? How do you stand up there? Was he the new Boostmeister? Okay. Almost finds himself the kill. I was offended by that. Silk Thread there on Roadhog here. Again, they're being harassed a little bit from the side, but again, the Bastion definitely attracting a lot of attention. Silk Thread trying to defend their very important passenger. And so far, Shaz has been kept in good health.
So it'll be Baby Bay who takes out Fisher, so now you don't have that barrier for the Bastion. You have to pretty much back out of here. As Chaz on the payload. Be free pickings for Baby Bay at range, able to take out Silk Thread as well. So the Shock do stabilize here. I think this is where you start to wonder with the Gladiators. Do you try the Bastion again?
You try
Switch off of
the tank configuration.
But you remember that there was like that one patch that like Bastion was basically like 76 for a week. You could play
In recon mode, yeah.
I love that.
I enjoyed it too. Dante throws in.
Yeah, it was fun for the week. It's like
I got over it pretty quickly. Oh, does he go for this? No, the Gladiators are wise to it. They see it coming. They woke. Shawford deals with the Riptire now. A couple shots being thrown in. Baby Base in a very safe spot here, so he can kind of do what he wants. Shaz is still committed to the Bastion. And again, does he try and go for a big goal? He actually uses it now in a potentially losing fight, but they found Dante here. What can he do? Shaz now starting to deliver to the heavy ordnance. Cuts Super's life total down very low, but again, finds so little. Trying to go for the mortar style from long range doesn't yield any great results, and the Shock bounce back.
Now I think you need to make some changes. If you're the Gladiators,
Jazz fam.
Well, the issue is what are you going to change? Because do you have to change Shaz, Fisher, in Silk Thread here? I mean, if you change all three of those players a minute 48 to go, you kind of got, what, 2 good fights towards the end of the game? They do. I mean, they're committed to getting back onto the payload.
Bastion obviously is static normally in his sentry mode, so putting him on a payload kind of, gives him some mobility.
And it's also a gamble, right? Because if you use the Valkyrie, the only support ult on either side, all it takes is one good shot from one of these Widowmakers to erase that. Chaz gets hit with a self-destruct. Obviously, not the most mobile of hero.
There was venom in that shot, I felt it! Shawford found himself 2 there, Moth going down. That might be the opening, and maybe it wasn't the Bastion, maybe that was all a ruse to attract attention. Shaz is back anyway, getting work done. The Gladiators now starting to spring forward. A little bit of momentum, sprightly as they go towards his first checkpoint, and they're going to get there, but Shawford, man, he opened that up, and now he's getting in Baby Bay's head.
Yeah, with him taking out Moth early, you never get a use of Valkyrie for the San Francisco Shock, but you take a little bit of a peek through Shawford's eyes. On the flank. Line him up, knock him down. Nice shot there on the Moth for the second go.
I think, yeah, beautiful stuff. And Big Goose, meanwhile, getting Resurrects with Valkyrie. Interesting position. Oh, no! Gets bolted into the explosion. You have no choice. That's so brutal. Couldn't do it. It's just a mercy. Come on, man. All right, now it's going to be the Riptide thrown in. Okay. Right, look, as someone who doesn't play a lot of Mercy, doesn't maybe enjoy the nuances of Mercy, I found it very cathartic, but that was brutal.
As somebody who is trying to fill in my games, be a good member in the community, and by filling.
Oh, I know. I played with you in Tasma that night. I played like 25 games of Mercy, bro.
With filling, and I've just tanked my SR by playing Mercy. Yep. That happens quite often. Guys that need help, nobody comes to help.
Yep. I did a few in Taz. Wasn't great. Started off well, didn't end well, but who wants to hear about my games? Let's watch the real games now. Shield thrown up here, so Shaz is in a great spot just to hammer down on the Shock, and they really can't come out of that exit anymore. They're just completely cordoned off. Shaz now, I guess this is about as much of a zoning ultimate as Bastion can give you. Really just trying to cut off a lot of these doorways, get some damage. He doesn't find much, but again, just sets up. Silk Thread has a pulse from him, but he's cut down. Baby Bay finds him here. Is this an opening? Sleepy's removed. There it is. Self-destruct. Shawford and Shaz are down.
Yeah, Valkyrie from both teams. It'll be Moth bringing Sleepy back up with the res. The Gladiators, now they'll make a change. They'll go over to what'll look like a dive comp. Fisher probably will go over to Winston here. It's Big Goose.
The Goose is loose.
Here.
I hear you, fam.
Out there, the Big Goose is loose, definitely. So he'll now be playing Lucio, so you can get loose a little bit faster here. Sleepy does have the Transcendence, and look, you have that big edge in terms of Transcendence because you have the changes that have to come in here for the Gladiators. They swap out Big Goose as well, right? So you don't have any type of advantage in terms of Valkyrie either.
How quickly can Shaz farm his Transcendence? Keep an eye on that ultimate ticker on the far right of your screen. Oh, Dante, that's a perfect situation. Big Goose there, you're not skating away from that one. Well stuck. Now Dante is trying to give a bit of respect to BC. We know that he can get vaporized by the Deeper if he sticks around, but that Resurrect on Super, that's quite big. See how they respond now. Self-destruct. Chaz found Super, so just as the risk gets brought back, he's taken down again. Nevis can't do much with the Bunny Blaster here, but he needs to try and stay on the payload. Dante's also there. Bisha gets desuited. 45 seconds left in the round. I'll remind you, time is very thin for the Gladiators now, and their opportunities to take this to a map 5 are also starting to run out. Baby Bay's trying to play peekaboo with Big Goose around the corner, but he decides Silk Thread is the fish he'd rather fry.
And they haven't been able to force Sleepy to use his Transcendence. He's still holding on to it throughout this entire fight. Chaz does build up to 73% of his own Transcendence, but look at it. Moth now with another Valkyrie, because Big Goose has to switch off of his Mercy. You know, they use Valkyrie at the same time, right? Only 50% towards that sound barrier, may not get it here.
Dante's waiting. He'd love to get the chance to get his recall back, but that would be 6 more seconds. Instead, he just goes for... No, Shortfall's down already. He went a little bit too deep. Nevix was on the payload and took down the Tracer that was trying to contest it. Now it's going to be struggle here. Shaz missing. That was the opportunity. They needed the Transcendence from him so badly. No support ult in the last 2 minutes. Now for the Gladiators, they're going to get cut to shreds. Silk Thread can't do too much there. He is down. And the shock. You better believe it. Get around him. They will take the series 3-1. Last time, the Gladiators, it was a 4-0 sweep. That's called development.
You're seeing the Shock put together the talent that they have amassed, you know, through the offseason in between stage 1 and stage 2, and now stage 2 and stage 3. And this is why you go out and get those, you know, talented players. You think they can make a difference for your roster. I thought Super was tremendous today. We didn't talk a ton about him, right, you know, during the game, but just the fact that he's able to play the main tank coming in at an even level at Fisher, you know, in your first game, that's big time for me.
I used to write bad articles, and my first one was actually about Super there, especially at the time during the quad tank. Really rate the guy. Very, very good. Incredible, you know, sort of character on him for a young bloke. I mean, guys like Space, guys like Super are coming in. These are born leaders. These 18-year-olds with such a great sense for the game, really open to it. Great teammates to have. I mean, Baby Bay as well coming in for that last map. The Widowmaker battle between him and Shortfall was truly epic. And he gets his team over the line there with some fantastic shots. Again, it's stressful to play that role, come in for the last map. Can't really fault him.
Yeah, I mean, Baby Bay finishes 34 limbs, 17 final blows, 54% scoped accuracy, 15% crit on the Widowmaker. So if that's going to be the role on him, for him on this team, he's going to be that Widowmaker 76 specialist. Expect to see that type of performance.
And speaking of the man himself, let's head down to the stage with Zoe and Super.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I have the man himself with me, Super. Please give it up. This was his first time on this stage, and he's walking off with a victory. So tell me, what's the experience been like for you today?
I thought it was going to be a lot more nervous than I was playing on stage. I think the most got my nerves going the most was walking out of the entranceway, because there was a lot of noise, a lot of cheering. But when I got on stage, it was relatively calm, and I just played my game. So.
How much time did you actually get to spend with the main roster of the San Francisco Shock leading up to this?
I think we spent about a week this past week where I was full-time scrimming, so that was about the full preparation. But I've had some scrim time prior, like a few maps here and there, but this past week is when I started playing full-time.
All right, well, it was an excellent performance from you and your team, of course. What can we expect from the San Francisco Shock in stage 3?
I think you guys can expect a lot more strong showings, more wins, and hopefully we can make playoffs.
All right, well, we can't wait to see that happening. Super, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to having another few chats with you during stage 3. We're now heading over to the desk to break down the game.
Thank you so much. So one more time for Super and the San Francisco Shock. They get a big win here to open up stage 3, and today, that was the day they've been waiting for. Sinatra, Super, 2 of the big names, finally able to play on the same stage. But guys, it was Dante who played all 4 and gets the big victory for the squad today. Let's start with the Sombra, because that was kind of the discussion in between maps and even at halftime. What did we see in the second half, and how was the Shock able to take game 3 so convincingly?
I mean, again, Dante, right? The Sombra show, I feel like it should be called, because, you know, we were talking about this beforehand when we were discussing, you know, where is Dante going to fit in this new San Francisco roster now that Sinatra's coming in, because he was mainly playing the Tracer, right? But here he is now, this Sombra specialist, right on time, right when we're seeing the meta changes happening. And I got to say, it's beautiful to watch, to be honest, because it is honestly just really the fact that you can see that San Francisco Shock have fought well ahead as to how they're going to be playing into this meta game, and it's working out in spades for them.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights here from Ilios Crumbs. We're taking a look at some of the early action, and it looked like Gladiators were able to get the early point in stage 2, but for for this first stage on Lighthouse, it was just Shock with total control. I love the choice of the Moira here, but what did you think of the composition overall? Sinatra on Tracer and Dante staying with that Sombra.
Well, I think the Shock just was riding the momentum train of keeping onto the Sombra pick and understanding how it was working against the Gladiators, because when you play Sombra, it's really important to get a feel for how the opponent is reacting to you. How quickly are they turning? Are they keeping their eyes on you? Are they guarding the points where the health packs are? So they just rode that way, whereas the Gladiators tried to tackle the Sombra, and they just weren't warmed up to it already. So San Francisco Shock got a really nice game too. And what is interesting that you mentioned about Dante is that that's another way to maintain your longevity as a player. You just keep playing the heroes that are about to get buffed, and somebody's going to need you because somebody's going to have to keep playing those characters.
Is Moira a new mainstay on Ilios?
I mean, not just in Ilios, I think in general, to be honest.
Yeah.
She's a fantastic hero. She puts out incredible healing, like healing that we haven't seen since way back in the day when Anna was first released and she was putting out ridiculous numbers herself. This is what Moira's speciality is now, that high healing output. So, I mean, you just see her in a variety of situations.
We'll keep an eye on her throughout all of the control maps. Remember, here in Stage 3, it's always Nepal or Ilios if we're going into that Game 3. Game 4, though, we finished strong with Junkertown once again. Sniper battles, always fun to watch. Silk Thread went over to the Junkrat, and we saw Dante playing that same hero for the Shock on defense. But what was the difference between these two squads when you watched this Game 4, Crumbs?
So I think the big one is obviously that Sinatra was subbed out and you put Baby Bay in here. And this is exactly what the San Francisco Shock want to be doing with their DPS, because you also have Architect coming in later. That's more of the Genji, when you have Baby Bay that can devote himself exclusively to the hit scan. So now he only has to play Soldier 76, maybe some McCree, and some Widowmaker. So he's making it work onto this map. And it's a new look for the San Francisco Shock. Everything that they keep coming out, we know that it's what they're going to do, but we need to see it for it to be executed well.
Brian, last time around, we saw the Gladiators in the run for the Stage 2 playoffs. Today, they fall to the Shock, who is just now picking up their 7th match win overall in the league. Are you worried for the Gladiators? Should the Gladiators fans be worried for their squad right now?
I don't think so. I feel like this is a squad that can work around it. They've got the additions of Void. They've got Silkthread in as well. They have potential there. They can turn it around quite easily. I think their main issue is honestly playing around the Sombra. Like this is the main theme that we're going to hit time and time again, because their strongest player, Fisher, you know, as soon as he's hacked, he can't use any of his abilities at all, and he's just shut down. And it's a very easy way to just negate the impact of your strongest player. You know, this keeps happening, and that is the way it works. As soon as Gladiators figure a way around it, they're going to be golden.
It's not just strongest players, though. I think that's what is going to happen in Stage 3. The tanks are just going to have a really tough time dealing with getting hacked every single time, because you're going to have to rely on your supports to be able to spot out the Sombra ultimate and respond with their own ultimates, which is really tough to do as the Sombras get better. So I don't envy anybody that has to be a tank in this one.
It used to be all about who's got the best Tracer. Then all of a sudden it was who's got the best main tank. Now, who's got the best Sombra? Well, in this match, it's our player of the match sponsored by Omen by HP. Dante reigns supreme. You saw him a little bit on Tracer. He showed you some Genji, but it's this hero that was just so fun to watch. A specialist on Sombra across the board, and I love watching this guy on hitscan. I want to see what other heroes the coaching staff is going to have him flex on. For now, I think you can expect to see Sombra in at least 2 of your 4 maps when you play the Shock.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this is one of the reasons why they consider a lot of these teams, these unnamed analysts, as you say, Crumbs, they consider Shock to be a top 5 team now, and it is because they have learned to specialize as it is, and you know, it's paying dividends right here.
Looking at the final blows, 25 of them, 87 and 17 are his eliminations versus deaths, and averaging over 3 players per EMP. 50% of the team is pretty darn good, Crumbs.
That's a nasty one. I mean, 110 enemies hacked. You held down right-click more than the Mercy this game to try to take somebody out here. That just doesn't feel good if you played against that one. But kudos to him. He's been working on this hero for more stages than most people, and I think that's what's giving him the advantage here. He's just put in more hours than anybody else, and it's going to take a while for them to catch up.
Dante is your Omen player of the match. For now, though, we got to close things out with the overall standings. We just kicked off Stage 3, and if you look at the numbers here, the big picture, you'll notice it's still London, New York, and Seoul. But tomorrow, keep your eyes on some of these teams from 4 to 9. The Shock, they get their win Tomorrow, the question for me is it going to be Boston or is it Philly? Will Mayhem continue to climb, and can Houston upset the London Spitfire once again? They did it in the first week of Stage 2. Crumbs, you're not on the desk tomorrow. What's the prediction?
These are all super tight games, Puckett. That's my prediction. Florida's on the rise, and New York could easily falter against them, as Florida has already given them trouble.
All right, Bren, it's day one, first day of the new meta. Best thing for any fans that would go back and watch the VODs.
I would probably go back and watch the game that we've just seen. I mean, if you're just catching it now, there's no reason not to. The whole day has been pretty on top.
It's right behind you.
Right behind me? My bad. Okay. All right, let's do a redo here. Probably catch that game number one if you want to see, you know, Dallas Fuel maybe turn up a little bit, see a different side of the Shanghai Dragons, I should say. That's a good game to catch.
It's fun to watch an Angry Effect back in action. Big shout out to everyone who came out to the Blizzard Arena today, including the Blizzard staff, Jeff Kaplan, and the whole crew who showed us the new Retribution. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We're kicking off at the same time, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on OverwatchLeague.com. We'll see you soon.